Alright guys, welcome back to Hyperion. This is episode 3, that's Soar Above. And the game begins with the ship pulling into a system. In the distance we see a nice blue planet. And for the opening log we have Mr. Tilek.
First Officer's Log, Stardate 56781.67. Commander Telek recording. Commander Ash has gone on medical leave due to her injuries from the Srivania incident several months ago. For the time being, I have taken over the role of First Officer in addition to my engineering duties. It is my hope that soon engineering will be able to operate independently while I am on the bridge, although we have not made a full transition yet. I'm still rather concerned as to who in the department should take over a supervisory role there. Recently, long range scans picked up a previously unobserved Class M planet in the Argatis system. Hyperion is on its way to do more thorough scans of the area, which appears to have life and a warp capable species living in underwater cities, due to the large expanse of the oceans covering 98% of the planet. Thus far, we have no evidence of active warp-capable ships, but they have sent out several unmanned warp probes. We believe the planet is technologically advanced for first contact, although we are approaching cautiously to avoid being picked up on long-range scans, just in case it is decided that we should just observe.
Alright, and for our first scene we're going to move to the bridge. And it's the start of the morning, and everyone's actually on duty. And Tilek, as you walk on the bridge, everyone turns to you and starts clapping. No doubt for your new position.
I just sort of look around and perhaps give a couple nods as I make my way over to my station.
So the question is,
good.
oh, sorry. So a question is: Tilek still wearing yellow, or is he switched to red?
Probably still yellow.
Take it away, ELH.
Actually, that was going to be my question, so you beat me to the punch. But I guess Nix will sort of just look Telek up and down and say, "Well, Mr. Telek, see you haven't made the color switch yet."
Uh, Not yet. Um, I just haven't really gotten around to changing what uniforms yet.
It's
But I can go
understandable.
if you require me to be in red.
Not at all. Not at all. I simply do it as a good-natured ribbing. I don't really care whether you're gold or red or blue or black, or as long as you show up in a uniform. That's all I really care about.
Very reasonable, Captain.
And then mostly to the bridge at large, I'd like to sort of announce. So, anyone have any new data on this planet we're headed towards? Anything long range sensors have picked up that we should know about?
That sounds like the perfect job for Mr. Kirkot. So, Brad, if you could tell us a little bit about our new Benzite science officer.
He is very stereotypically Benzite. He's incredibly talented when it comes to anything science. He is a bit awkward socially. And he is very by the books.
Well, to start the game, to answer those questions, let's do a sensor scan. If you can give me a reason science, difficulty 0, and then of course the ship can assist with a sensor science.
And
I'll drive the ship.
Mr. Kirkot has a sensors focus.
That would certainly apply. Whoa. All right. Great start.
Nice. I think that means we're capped on momentum, actually.
So some basic information, then of course you can always ask me more questions if you have them. There's certainly a lot here to tell you. So the planet is pretty simple. It's a Class M, mostly water, just like Telek said. It's a little bit larger than Earth, so the gravity is approximately 1.2 Gs, so you'd feel a little bit heavier. The temperature of the surface is pretty warm. It's around 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so you'd want to bring a bathing suit, but you'd be swimming because there's really not much landmass at all. So that's definitely what you picked up. What you've picked up is in orbit, the inhabitants of this planet have a lot of probes that seem to be work capable in orbit and then also in the proximity of this system. But just a cursory scan, it doesn't look like any of them are actually manned. They seem to be remote.
So Kirkcott has the talent All Fingers and Thumbs. So when he succeeds at a task using a computer console, he gets a bonus momentum that cannot be saved for the group pool. So I'd like to use that to gain information. Can we tell if their sensors have detected our ship?
It looks like they haven't. You guys came into the system very close to the star, almost putting the star, for the most part, at least the star's corona between you and their planet, which is masking you very well. You can detect them, but they can't detect you.
So Mordo Kirkcott turns to the captain. Captain, it appears our preliminary scans of the system have remained consistent. There does not appear to be any signs that the civilization below is aware of our presence. And then he stares at the captain, kind of blinking for a moment, then turns back to his console.
Are there any indications that they are able to receive a subspace transmission? Are we picking up any transmissions from the planet itself?
Since you guys have cap momentum, if you give me momentum, I'll answer that question and give you some more.
Sure. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
You don't pick up any transmissions, voice transmissions from the planet. It does appear as though the drones are networked in some capacity. But it looks like the planet could probably receive you if you were to send out a signal.
I mean, this might be another momentum, but for clarification, so they are able to receive subspace communications because their probes are networked in subspace? Or are we talking like they use like old radio style transmissions?
Oh no, I'll clarify. So the drones, is really what they are traveling inside of the system and then also outside of the system. So you can assume that since they can communicate with them at a longer distance to remotely control them, that you should be able to also communicate with them to a similar system.
Okay. Yeah, because it was one of those things where I was looking up on the side, like the lag time between the Earth and the Moon is what, 7 minutes, and Earth to Mars is 20 minutes. But if they have subspace, it's instantaneous. So I guess Nyx turns to Commander Telek and says, "Well, Commander, what are your thoughts on this? By all accounts, they are a warp-capable species. Do you think it is good as time as any for a first contact?"
I think that, yeah, we should probably go ahead and approach the planet. I see from their probes that they seem to be pretty technologically advanced. And I think this is as good a time as any.
Nyx sort of stands up, adjusts the uniform in the Picard fashion, and says, "A channel, audio only for the time being."
I'm assuming, Alan, you go to do that, and with no difficulty at all, you're able to open a channel.
Yes, Captain. Channel open.
Attention, unknown alien species. This is Captain Nyx of the USS Hyperion, a Federation starship. We are interested in getting to know you better. We are interested in getting to know you and your culture. We are holding a safe distance away from your planet. If you are interested in such, please reply on this channel. And then I just sort of wait.
And there's a moment of silence, and then coming back on over the audio, you hear, "Welcome, sentients, to the planet GR17.
Is that all they say?
That's all they say.
All right, so it was GR17. Wow. Okay. Nick sort of looks around a little confused, looking for input from other people. But goes ahead and says, yes, thank you for the welcome to GR17. Um, is there a particular way we should refer to you? Do you have a name for yourselves that I should be using?
And after a moment, the communication replies, "You may refer to me as one."
And I think at this point, Nyx is starting to put the pieces together, but I want to make sure I'm not metagaming it. Is it a fair assumption at this point that we're dealing with either a hive mind or the planet is just one entity?
It's not a fair assumption to make that claim yet. I think Nyx would probably need to explore some more options.
Okay, again, that's why I ask. All right, so I think Nyx is going to kind of, look to Telek and see if Telek has any ideas here.
And Telek looks very confused. Telek just do we want to approach the planet? Turn on video? We have a couple here.
Can Alan say something?
Oh, of course, yeah, go for it.
Mr. Kirkcott, did you forget to scan for life signs? And then the lieutenant, this is essentially his first day on the job, kind of turns around gingerly and, apologies. And he'd like to, I don't know if you want me to spend momentum.
No, that's okay.
Or if you want me to scan again.
I'll give you this one for free, and of course, if you have more questions, then maybe I'll make a momentum spin. But just right away, he can detect there are around 2 billion life signs.
How many of them are advanced? Like the people on the bridge of the ship.
That, because I have a lot to tell you with that, I'll take a momentum for that one.
I will give you momentum for that one.
So you detect around 2 billion life signs that seem to be around the same species. What's a little unusual is that you do detect a high degree of technological devices among the populace.
And Mr. Kirkcott reports that to the bridge. Captain, it appears that the civilization on the planet may use some sort of cybernetic technology. There is a high level of technology for a species that is just discovering warp drive. Now he's turning Russian. I don't want to do that. Sorry.
I think it's a character. I think he just becomes a Russian. Oh, but no. Nyx takes this information, thinks about it for a moment, and then to the one, as they asked to be referred to, I say, "Well, one, we will be approaching on this vector." And I give the vector. We look forward to meeting you in person. Captain Nyx out. And then as the channel closes, I sort of settle back into my chair and rub my temple and say, well, I guess we can chalk that up as a somewhat of a success. They didn't tell us to leave immediately, and they didn't tell us to go away, so I'm going to count that as a success. Mr. Kerko, or I keep on calling him Kekarot, but that's completely wrong. Lieutenant, when you say that there's cybernetic devices involved, can you be a bit more specific, or will we have to get closer to the planet for you to scan that sort of thing out?
It is hard for me to tell. Ah, damn it! It's hard for me to tell at this distance, Captain. We will need to close the distance before I can get a detailed scan.
Well, I think in that case, Mr. Harlock, if you would bring us into the planet on the aforementioned vector, take us in nice and slow, half impulse.
Telek, before we deal with that, if you can give me an engineering insight, difficulty 2, and you do have a focus.
How important do we think this is, since we have a couple momentum?
I'd say go for it. I mean, that's what it's there for.
Yeah. Okay. Oh! Not important enough?
Wow.
Yeah. It's your first day on the job, Tilek.
I am probably as nervous as a Vulcan can be because out on the bridge is out of my comfort zone.
The drones look nice and pretty.
Before we move closer, can Alan check to see if there's any signs of weapons or anything or anything dangerous on these drones?
Yeah, and I'll give you a choice here. You could do a scan yourself, or I can just give you the immediate and simple answer to that request.
If I'm the one doing the scan, you know what? I'd like to roll. It's more fun to roll.
All right. Ship assisting with sensors security.
Yeah, I think so. And then, Alan, for you, it's going to be a reason security.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to make me do science.
Yeah, it's a security question. I think it's only fair.
Oh, what's the difficulty?
Let's say difficulty of 1.
Which advanced sensor suites, it's only a 0.
Oh, there you go. 0.
Does shipboard tactical systems apply as a focus?
Yeah, definitely.
Hey,
Oh.
1 momentum. It's something.
That's all you needed. They are armed, actually, which is a little unusual considering the rest of their technology level. But what's of particular interest to you is they are an equivalent to disruptor cannons on those drones.
Can I spend that momentum to ask the question, are these drones actively targeting our ship?
Yes, you may, and they are not. And in fact, those disruptors are powered down.
Okay. Alan, you see him hitting the buttons, and then a look of shock appears on his face for just a second. Commander, Captain, those drones have teeth. They appear to have disruptor cannons on them that could do it real. Well, you know what a disruptor cannon can do to our ship. I recommend we approach with caution, potentially raising shields.
Well, we don't want to appear overly hostile, and we did announce that we were coming in peace. I would hate to spook them at this point. Let's slow to 1/4 impulse, but let's keep shields down for the time being.
Yes, sir.
Harlock,
And
I'll say.
Alan will
Oh, go ahead.
Alan will keep checking. Alan just keeps every like 30 seconds just checking to see if the drones seem to take an interest in our ship.
And Harlock, as you manage to pull the ship away from the sun, you wait to the point to where the ship is safely away before you disengage the metaphasic shielding. But Alan, even the entire time, the drones don't seem to pay attention to you. They're just doing their tasks, and as you guys approach the planet, the conditions around and on the planet really haven't changed at all.
Okay.
Well, I mean, assuming we're not accosted by the time we get to the planet, once we're in orbit, I sort of motion for another channel to be open. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I would wait until to see if the one would hail us first, because I'm curious if they would.
And that's actually what happens as the Hyperion, we see it moving away from the sun into orbit of this blue planet. You do, back on the bridge, get a transmission from the surface, and it is someone identifying themselves again as just one.
Well, is it audio or video?
It's still just audio.
Then audio only it is.
And the transmission comes through. Again, greetings, sentients. We have picked you up on our scanning devices now. I'm curious if you would be open to my visit to your vessel.
This is again Captain Nix. Yes, we would be happy to receive you. Do you require any special accommodations? Do you perhaps have a atmospheric requirement or a gravity requirement we should be made aware of?
No, those preparations would not be necessary.
Very well. We have the ability to receive a shuttlecraft, or we also have something called a matter transporter in which we could beam you up. Which would you prefer?
And after a moment, the voice replies, "It would be interesting to see this matter transference device you speak of in action."
Very good. Then we will need coordinates where you are located, and we'll handle the rest.
And after a moment, Mr. Kirkcott, you get some coordinates from the transmission. A particular interest to you is that all of the settlements, as you're in orbit, you can tell this easier, but all of the settlements appear to be underwater. There is nothing like a floating city or any sort of structure that was built to actually go above the water. It seems as though this transmission, the coordinates you're getting, and in fact all of the inhabitants of the planet are in structures underwater.
Sorry, was that for me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was for
that's
you.
for Kirkcott. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Uh, Captain, I have the coordinates from the surface.
Let me guess, they're underwater.
Uh, yes, sir, that is correct. Very
Hmm.
keen eye you have.
It's only an educated guess, and I flashed you a toothy smile. I turn to Commander Telek again, and I say, Commander Telek, would you like to do the honors, or would you mind if I did it?
You are welcome to do it, Captain.
Alrighty. Then I say, Mr. Telek, then in that case, you have the bridge, and Nix is going to head down to the transporter room to personally handle the beam process.
And Alan stands up. Captain, do you mind if I tag along?
Of course, come along.
And Alan will follow you into the. He'll follow you to the transporters.
Alrighty.
Then for our next scene, we see a small montage of Nix and Alan making their way through the ship, through the turbolift, and through the hallway, and they end up in the transporter room. I believe, Nix, you said you were personally going to handle this transport?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I want to be extra sure that nothing goes wrong during the transport, and if something does go wrong, I have the ability to handle it immediately.
You don't want that scene from the motion picture where they get twisted into something.
Yeah, let's not do a galaxy quest where they just sort of show up as a blob of flesh. Let's not do that.
Bad idea for first contact.
Yeah,
Um,
that doesn't go well.
just we could bring Mr. Wrench into the scene. He does have a focus in transporters.
He does. This is true,
I
but
feel
at the
like
same
it'd be
time, I'm
bad.
a little bit wary of Mr. Wrench.
Yeah, that'll be a
He would.
bad impression.
His first move would be to turn the power meter all the way full.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm a little worried about him. No, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. So let's see.
I think we're doing an engineering control, and the difficulty, I think, will just be a 3.
All right. So because sensors are involved, that gets knocked down to a difficulty of 2. I'm gonna give you 1 momentum, so I'm rolling 3 dice, and I'm gonna save determination in case I need to save the 1, as it were. Well, there's 3 successes to start with. Someone could get the ship.
Got it. That was sensors engineering, right?
Mm-hmm. Hey, 4 successes, 2 momentum. Nice.
And the lights of the transporter activate. You see the shimmering field, and then appearing before you on the transporter pad are 2 obviously artificial life forms. They look almost identical. They're just at 2 meters, mostly metal, of course, and then some lights. But apart from their coloring, they look virtually the same. Immediately once the transport completes, they sort of look around. You notice that their mannerisms are very artificial, like they're not obviously trying to emulate any kind of organic behavior because they move very stiffly as they walk off the transporter pad. And this one, the guy in red, he stops at the top step and he looks around. I am the one. I have the designation of 1. Who are you?
Nyx is, of course, going to go for it and introduce herself, but as she's doing that, I have a few questions about their appearance, just sort of to clarify. So, looking at the token art, it looks like they are humanoid.
Yeah, they are humanoid. Sorry, I left that out. They appear not to have been designed to mimic the appearance of any other life form. Like they were obviously made to be humanoid because they have 2 arms and 2 legs and they stand upright. But their faces weren't made to look like a normal face. So like they don't have discernible eyes or nose or anything like that. They just really have like photoreceptors in the front and not much as far as the way of expressions.
Then, as I said, Nyx sort of steps forward or slithers forward, as it were, and says, "Hello, I am Captain Nyx. It is a pleasure to have you on our vessel."
And 1 looks at you. Thank you. It is good to be on your vessel as well.
Would you like a tour, or shall we go ahead and proceed to the conference room?
Yes, a tour would be of great interest to myself.
I'm going to note that odd choice of words, but not going to comment on it. I'll just sort of turn to Alan and says, "Mr. Allen, let's run with tour pattern beta 9." And add a character. Beta 9, at least as far as I'm flavoring it, it is Alan's discretion what areas of the ship we actually show off.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, do we actually have tour patterns, or is this just like a coded thing? So yeah, I think Alan would pick up on that though, and yes, Captain, of course. Um, Follow me, and he motions for our guest to follow and starts to introduce himself. I'm Lieutenant Allen of the Starship Hyperion. We are members of the, and blah 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 blah.
And 1 turns to you and he says, "Greetings, Lieutenant David Allen of the Starship Hyperion." And he waits. Might my compatriot join us as well?
Of course, how rude
Absolutely.
of me.
And he doesn't even turn to his friend. His friend just immediately walks over. And 1 looks at both of you, Nyx, and then to you, Alan, and he says, "The designation of this one is 2.
1
Yeah.
and 2. Did they look exactly the same?
Their coloring is a little different. So they're robotic and they have these silver sort of glossy panels, which basically makes up their entire body. The one that's calling himself 1 has mostly red paneling and red lighting, and the one calling himself 2 has blue and purplish lighting. But apart from the lighting and some of the color choices, they are identical.
One and 2. All right. Well, 1 and 2. How about I start giving you that tour?
And 1 says to you, "Yes, we would like to see your vessel, please."
And I think the first place I lead them to is 10 forward.
As you walk down the hallway, Alan, the 2 of them, 1 and 2, follow you. They're really not even looking around as they're following you down the hallway.
Yeah, they probably have scanners. They can see it all.
And you notice they're walking single file, like exactly 2 is exactly behind 1 as they're walking down the hallway. And even like their steps are in sync.
That probably creeps Alan out just a little bit because even the cybernetic life forms the Federation have encountered before, that's a little different.
I mean,
Like
even with
even
the Borg
that's
don't
what I
even
was
do
gonna say.
that.
And actually, Nix, if you can give me an engineering insight, I would say a difficulty of 3.
Okay. Would you give me xenotechnology as a focus?
Absolutely. This is tapping into your knowledge of engineering systems.
All right. I'll give you the 1 momentum for 3 dice, and we'll see what happens. Only 2 successes.
Well, their colors are very pretty.
I think as we're walking, from point A to point B on this tour, I am going to try to strike up conversation with either 1 or 2, whoever would reply. And I would say something along the lines of, well, 1, 2, as you can see, we have a very large vessel. And I'm just curious, the vessels of yours that we detected were comparatively small, probe sized. Do you normally traverse and explore space in such a manner, or are these just exploratory probes that you've been using?
And as you're walking through the hallway, 1 and 2 continue to march single file. And 1 doesn't even turn his head to you, Nix, as you ask. And I'm assuming you're kind of at the end of the line here. But 1 says back to you, we use our drone vessels in order to explore our system and neighboring space. There is no need for the vessels to be manned.
Hmm. See, out of character, I know what I want to ask, but again, in character, I don't think Nyx knows to ask it yet. So I think Nyx is instead going to ask, well, that's an interesting way to go about exploration. My species, or perhaps I shouldn't say my species, the Federation, a group of species. We all came to warp travel in our own way, but my understanding is that most of the species in the Federation, most of us are using manned craft for such a thing. So seeing someone like yourselves use a unmanned fashion, it fascinates us.
And 1 replies, I can understand your curiosity. We do not believe that a manned vessel is required in order for us to collect information. Remotely, the vessel can provide us with information as well as to explore what we need it to. There is no need for someone to be aboard.
Makes sense to me. And as we step into 10 forward, I guess I say, this is 10 forward. This is where we have our, I guess you would call it break time or our leisure time. As you can see, we have matter consumption. We have what are known as drinks and food. And we, in general, just take the time to relax and enjoy our downtime. And I'd like to lead them, or at least sort of steer Alan towards one of the windows because I don't think they're going to order drinks. I just have a feeling. Sort of steer us towards the window so that they get sort of a view of their planet from orbit.
And actually, Alan, they continue to follow you as you enter the room. And Nix, as you like walk towards the window, they don't go to follow you. They're still just following Alan.
So my first steps were probably towards the bar, but
Mhm.
seeing the captain move towards the window and then watching as these 2 individuals followed directly behind me, I kind of, oh, this way, and move towards the windows.
And you remember, Alan, you did tell them to follow you, or at least ask them to follow you. So they may actually be like legitimately following that as like an order, not necessarily as a suggestion.
Mhm.
Uh, Feel free to explore the space, 1 and 2. if I can show you one thing of interest, and I point out the window, and I'm hoping that the image of their planet's coming into view.
Yeah, I'd say that I don't think we've ever identified it exactly, but we'll say that 10 forward of the lounge is at the front of the ship, which in orbit their planet is very visible. And in fact, 1 takes a position between you, Alan, and Nyx, and 2 actually goes off and starts walking around the room. The 2 still have not communicated in any way that you can see, but 1 is just really standing between the 2 of you. So I'll position you guys over here. Kind of like that.
I'll keep an eye on 2, and hope that the captain kind of picks up the conversation.
Yeah,
if there is a conversation.
There is one, yeah. I think I started by saying you probably have already seen this site, but I usually find it important to sort of show that, again, we come in peace and we wish to share the same sort of majesty of exploration that you do. And I sort of motion out of the window.
And it follows your hand and then looks back. Yes, this is the planet GR17.
So, of course, Nyx was hoping for a little bit more than that, but I think she's starting to pick up the pieces here. So she maintains her smile and lowers her hand and says, I'm curious, one. Your planet GR17 is mostly a aquatic realm. How is it that life forms such as yourself are able to exist in a what is it? Not subterranean. I just had a brain fart.
Subaquatic?
Underwater?
Is it subaquatic? Yeah, underwater. God, why can't I remember simple words today? How is it that one of your species can exist in a underwater environment? I'm quite curious about it.
And 1 says, the GR units, like myself and 2, are able to withstand most environments. We were built to be very hardy. The environment of GR17 is not a problem for us.
If you don't mind me asking, who built you originally?
For that information, you would have to ask the authority. I do not possess that information.
The authority, you say? Are they a planetary leader of some sort?
The authority is the administrator of GR17.
I see. Well, it does not need to happen right away, but I think I would like to meet with this authority.
And 1 says, I will relay that message. We have strict policies for visitors to GR17.
Oh, do tell.
That is the directive from the authority.
So Nyx was, of course, hoping for you can only come between X and Y. You have to go between point A and point B only. But with that sort of response, I think Nyx just actually kind of shakes her head a little bit in confusion and then quickly catches herself and says, we would be happy to comply with whatever guidelines and regulations you have set forth.
Very good. It is likely the authority will have questions for you.
And then,
Mr. 1, this might not. Why GR17?
And 1 turns to you and waits a moment.
Like, were there 16 previous GRs?
I do not contain that information. Perhaps the authority could answer that question for you.
Oh. And the fact that it wasn't just a no kind of surprises Alan.
I think you could safely say, Alan, of all the planet names you've ever heard, this is probably the first one where the inhabitants of that planet referred to it as like letters and a number. That's very unusual.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
if you
it's
live
no
on a
question.
rock somewhere, you tend to give it a name that's a little more appealing.
Yeah, even if it was just rock.
Right. What's 2 doing out of curiosity?
2 is just looking around. He's not poking anything or messing with anything. He's really just walking around between the chairs, the tables.
I'll move over to 2, and I'll say, 2. Does your species require any sort of sustenance, food?
It's a question. Are you saying this out of earshot or hopefully earshot of 1?
I don't think I would realize that that 1 was speaking for both of them. So I'd probably just say it out loud.
Okay. Because the answer you get is actually from 1, not from 2. When you start speaking to 2, he stops and turns towards you, but the answer comes from 1. And 1 says, while we do require some maintenance, there is no need for regular sustenance.
And I turn to 1 and says, okay. Food is pretty good, but if you don't need it, I guess that's kind of cool too.
I am unsure if I understand how temperature factors into our need for sustenance.
Oh, I are even people on this ship get confused sometimes when I do that. It's just a figment of speech. Cool means good or interesting.
And the 2 machines, still no expression, give you no reply. They just stand there.
Cool. Cool.
Well, where are we headed to next, Mr. Allen?
Well, I figured the next place to show off that I would enjoy to show off would be the ship gymnasium.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to the ship's gymnasium is where we're going.
And as the 2 of you make off towards the gymnasium, the 2 mechanical entities just stand there, and as you motion Alan for them to follow, they immediately again fall in sync, one after the other, and begin to march behind you.
All right.
But
and then I lead them.
Yeah, as you're trained.
I don't know if we want to play through this whole thing, so I'm essentially going like the gymnasium, and then like cargo bay 2, and like as many of the rooms that have nothing of interest, or like very little of interest.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout all of this, and we'll just like cut all this amount of time into this discussion, but through all of this, as you're showing them probably the most boring parts of the ship, they never let on any sort of boredom or dissatisfaction with that. You could be like, hey, here's a potted plant, and they just, stand there. They really don't even ask you any questions.
Actually, hold on. Let's explore that a little bit. I would like to show them a potted plant. There's a reason for it.
Okay.
Because what Nix is going to do is Nix is going to maybe we'll pass by like a plant in the hallway. Because even in the bleak future, quote unquote, I think we do see at least a few potted plants in the Enterprise D hallways. So maybe as we're passing by one of them, I motion at one of the plants and I say, 1, 2, I'm curious. As you can see, we enjoy plant-like fixtures here and there. I'm curious, do you have anything like that on GR17 within your underwater cities?
And the answer again comes from 1, not from 2, who's actually never spoken since he's been on the ship. But 2, again, or 1 without turning to you, Nix replies, while there is organic matter of this nature on GR17, we do not have the need for it in the habitations on GR17.
I see. Is it just units like yourself that exist within the habitats?
No.
Again, there's that pause as Nix like sort of waits to see if they're going to explain further. But seeing that they don't offer that information, I don't think Nix presses further.
And that's a pretty huge admission, yeah, and he does not follow it up with anything at all.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense that the answers to the questions I want are gonna be the authority at this point.
And in your discussion with one, you don't, when he's answering your questions, he's answering them very literally. Like you don't see any deception or evading of any answers. He's just answering your questions immediately or not at all. And most of it is one word answers.
Yeah, I think out of character, I think it's probably fair for me to say that Nyx has figured out that these are essentially just, well, to borrow a phrase, they are drones in and of themselves, where they have minimal sort of processing capacity, and probably aren't meant for anything but sort of basic communication, or at least that's the vibe I'm getting.
So
Yeah.
let's actually transition back to the bridge. So Telek, as Nyx and Alan have left, maybe a few minutes have passed, and you realize that perhaps for the first time in Telek's career, you are in charge of the entire ship yourself.
While the two of them are away, I just want to keep an eye on the planet, perhaps uh, instructing the lieutenant to just keep a scan out for any ships or probes that are taking too close a look at the ship, and just sort of be on edge because we don't know 100% if this is going to be a friendly encounter or not, even though we assume it's going to be friendly.
And not much has changed, but Mr. Kirkot, you do get a message down from Astrometrics, Dr. Dazix. He's a lieutenant in Astrometrics. He's really asking you for permission to use one of the lateral sensors in order to check out the star here in this system. He's very interested in it, but it's something he has to get access for because he kind of has to take off a portion of the sensor array for himself.
And the lieutenant is not confident enough yet in his own position to just say yes or no. So he turns to Commander Telek. Commander, Astrometrics is requesting permission to use some of the sensor array to study the star in this system. That will require part of our sensor array to stop scanning the local system.
Permission granted. It could likely be
oh,
useful information.
yes, Commander. And on the he gives the permission.
And immediately Kirkot, so the doctor down in Astrometrics is going to be running his own experiments and stuff, but immediately you can tell that this star, it's a white dwarf star, and it's actually kicking off a fair amount of radiation, more so than you would expect. Nothing to be too concerned about, but it's a little out of the ordinary. But of course, the doctor will have a report for you when he's done with whatever he's working on.
And that might be the thing that gets his interest, piques his interest enough that he kind of starts maybe ignoring the scans for a little bit to look at that.
Then, Mr. Kirkot, why don't you give me probably a science insight? Sounds right. Difficulty of 2.
Insight science. I will buy 1 dice with momentum. And does my sensor's focus still apply?
Yeah, I think it'll loosely apply here.
Awesome.
Do you want me to keep that complication, or do you want to buy it off with threat?
No, I don't want to buy it off. Can I suggest what the complication is?
Sure, go for it.
He is now paying literally no attention to the close range sensor scans.
All right, very good.
But it wouldn't be obvious unless you were looking over his shoulder that that's what he's doing.
And after a few moments pass, Kirkot, your head's down in your console, doing your thing. Telek, as you're sitting off to the side, the bridge is fairly quiet. You know, just the hum and the beeps of consoles, and everyone's just doing their thing. On ahead, you see the blue planet, GR17 that you're in orbit of. And then Zach kind of looks up from his console. Commander, what is that? And he points to the view screen, and there's a small object moving, it looks like on the view screen, towards the ship.
Lieutenant, could you get a closer scan as to what that object is?
Oh. And the command lieutenant was clearly not paying any attention, and that actually scared him to hear that. And he furiously starts hitting the buttons on the LCARs to start a scan.
So, Kirkot, if you can give me a reason science, difficulty 0, and the ship can assist with a sensor science. And your focus does apply.
Again, that difficulty was what, a 2?
That's a 0.
Oh, see, when he pays attention.
All right, lots of momentum. So it's one of the drones, actually, and it's heading towards you. Very fast, and it looks like it's headed right towards the ship.
I gain he succeeded with while using the computer, so I get a bonus momentum to spend. I would like to ask the question: is this drone has it locked weapons on the ship?
No, the weapon system on the ship are down, and the speed that it's heading towards you, it looks like it might actually impact the ship, and it looks to be damaged, in fact.
Okay. Commander, this drone appears to be damaged. And it is on a collision course with the ship. Its weapons are not armed.
Do we think we can catch it, or should we move out of the way? This is a question from me, the human person.
Oh, I think that's your first command decision: is do you tractor beam it or do you move the ship?
I don't know who to direct.
Kirkcott looks out of his depth. He is confused.
See if you can catch that with the tractor beam, and then we can take a closer look at it.
I think either Zach or Dolan would have taken the tactical station,
Why
or
don't we
maybe
give it
another NPC.
Why don't we give her to Dolan, since Dolan was Ash's supporting character, but So Kirkot, as the drone moves closer and closer, you notice its course is very erratic, and Dolan replies, "Commander, I'm not very sure that that I can lock on it with the tractor beam. It's well, it's doing some strange things, sir."
In which case, let's move out of the way, and that way we don't end up hit by it.
And Harlock, let's just because I want to be difficult here, let's make it a helm control difficulty of 2, and let's see, the ship can assist with a con engines. So it's a con control, con engines. But I'll make it a difficulty 3, actually, with some threat.
So a control con. He does have a focus in helm operations. I will buy 1 die with momentum because as an activation, I am... Oh, he already has cautious con. I'll give him a value here in a moment, just in case we need it. And let's see what happens. All right. I'll re-roll that 0 to see if we can't get any more momentum.
I have the ship up. I can roll that.
Go for it.
Nope.
All right, so 4 successes.
Not bad.
So yeah, some momentum for us.
And Harlock, you effortlessly move Hyperion to the side as the drone goes rocketing by. You guys see on the view screen, it looks like it's leaking probably like drive plasma or something. But Mr. Kirkot, on your sensor screen, as the ship goes or the drone goes by very, very close, the sensors detect that there is a life sign aboard.
Oh, Commander, there appears to be a life sign on that drone. Huh, fascinating. Oh, what should I do?
Where the drone came from? Is it just like passing by, or is it coming actively from the planet?
If we give you a momentum, can we ascertain the path that drone was on?
Yeah, you'll have to give me momentum based on the fact that Kirkot was not paying attention, so there will have to be some extra cost, which, yeah, will just be a momentum.
I will give you that momentum.
Kirkot, as you flip on your display and start typing in some equations, you can tell based on its current course, it probably came from somewhere underwater at one of the facilities, and it, went up to the surface, went out of the water, through the atmosphere, into space, and its erratic course started happening, really the moment it left the water, and it came as close as it could to you guys, but it's passed by, and now its course is quite erratic. You do pick up a life sign aboard, though.
Can I spend another momentum to ask, can we determine when it became damaged? Because if its course became erratic, that would suggest that that's the point where it became damaged.
Yeah, for one momentum, I will tell you its course became erratic really as soon as it left the installation, and it's probably damaged because the pilot is not flying it very well. Like they are obviously not in control of the craft, and there's a flight procedure they probably should have followed while the ship was underwater and then entering the atmosphere, and they just gunned the engines as fast as they could, and that's kind of damaged this vessel. This drone, really.
Captain, Commander, Captain, it appears that whoever was on that vessel is not a very good pilot, but it did come from one of the installations on this underwater.
And would I be able to tell if the location where the probe came from matches the location that we received from one, or?
That's also a momentum question because there's a lot more to follow up with that.
Sure.
You make momentum to spend momentum.
There you go. So this vessel did come from close to where one was beamed up from. What is unusual as you're looking through the sensor logs of all of these installations is they're very brick-like, very squat. Also, I'd say maybe you might have encountered underwater civilizations before, and there's usually in this case a lot of activity in the water around those installations. In this case, there's really none. There's just the facilities themselves, which this craft came from, but there's not a lot of activity. There's not like divers or submarines or that sort of thing.
Mr. Kirkot takes a very big, deep breath from his respirator and turns to the commander and says, Commander, maybe we could beam the life form out of the drone and onto the ship.
Let's try hailing them first, see if they respond. Did I miss earlier? Are they like the life form is not conscious, or is the life form conscious as far as we know?
I don't think we know. We don't know that.
Let's try hailing then.
Oh, that's probably the more practical, sensible thing to do, yes.
And Dolan hits a few buttons on his controls and the frequency opens, and before you get a chance to even talk to you hear, help, please, this thing's breaking up, please, is there anything you can do?
This is Commander Telek of the USS Hyperion. We are going to beam you aboard our vessel. momentarily.
Beam. Okay. Okay. Please, whatever you can. Please help.
And I'll call down Rich and tell him to go to the transporter room and beam the life sign aboard.
Huh? Yes, yes. No, damn it! I screwed up the voice again. I can't keep my voices straight. Ah,
That's okay. You only need one voice.
yeah, yes, Commander. I'm on it. And you hear, before he cuts off the line, you hear him say, "Come on, Al, let's get to the transporter room."
And I will call the captain and just tell her there is another life sign that left the planet. We will be beaming them aboard due to their craft malfunctioning.
Okay. Once I hear this, I guess I study to see if one or two have a reaction to that.
Let's actually move to the scene where you guys. I've still got you in the mess hall, but we can imagine that you guys have moved on to other areas of the ship. As soon as this communication comes in, Nix, I imagine your convoy of people stop in the hallway, but one or two, they don't react.
If they don't react, then I think what happens is Nick says, well, Mr. Allen, it seems I have something that requires my attention. Can you continue the tour from here?
Absolutely, Captain.
Very well. 1, 2, it was a pleasure meeting you. If you will continue to follow Mr. Allen here, he will continue to lead you about the vessel.
And one, without turning its head at all or watching you leave, says, "Thank you. We will continue to follow Lieutenant David Allen of the starship Hyperion."
And Alan kind of does the tour guide. He's walking backwards, motioning with his hands for them to follow, and he's like, "Have you ever heard of Anbo Jitsu?" And he's leading them away from. He's trying to pick a room that's on the opposite side of where the transporter is.
Okay. So the
Yeah,
next
I
thing
think.
we jump to
I
the
was just gonna say, I think Nix would go to the transporter room to maybe arrive just as the person is beaming in.
So Nix, you manage to make it into the room just as the transport is happening. The lights on the transporter illuminate, there's the shimmering effect, and then there is an alien species standing on the transporter pad. Wrench, you were able to pull this off. Maybe you had to give a little more power to the transporter, but you were able to beam them off the drone just in time. And actually, the drone, just as you pulled him off, the drone exploded.
And Wrench turns to Al, EX33, kind of gives him a pat on the head and says, "Finally, something blew up that I didn't touch."
Yes,
Mr. Wrench, why do I hear things about explode? That's not important. I look to the person on the transporter pad. Are you all right? Do I need to call the doctor?
And you notice he does have a cut on his arm, and he's bleeding like this bluish greenish blood down his arm a little bit, but he's kind of holding it to his chest, and he looks up. I'm on your ship in orbit of the planet. This is miraculous. I can't believe that I'm here.
As I start to reply, I sort of motion at, because I think, as much as I love Alan Wrench as a character, I think Nix trusts the exocomp just a little bit more. So I think I motion at EX33 to come sort of help me with this creature. And my thinking being that, technically we see exocomps usually only do engineering tools, but a dermal regenerator may not be too far out of its wheelhouse.
I think EX33 can definitely pull that off, and as he's floating towards you, Nix, he gets what you mean, and his front, the replicator that's built into the nose of him as he's floating over, he does create a dermal regenerator. He doesn't seem to know what to do with it, though, as he floats over, but, he's still pulled away from the transporter a good bit, but he's just sort of hovering in place looking for your direction.
Well, that's a good thing I got a B in Starfleet Medical back in the academy. So, I'm going to sort of lead EX-33, and Nix is going to step up to the alien creature, and I say, my name is Captain Nix of the USS Hyperion, a Federation starship. We are here to really just learn about your planet and your species. My compatriot here, I motioned to EX-33. They will be able to heal your wound if you were to permit it.
And the creature is looking at you, Nix, quite remarkably, and he says, "How do you understand me? I expected someone from far away. You can understand the words I say."
We have a technology called a universal translator that does a fairly good job of picking up on and interpreting new languages.
As EX-33 hovers and approaches, by your side, Captain, the guy looks up at the exocomp and he jumps back, and you can definitely tell from his expression that it's an expression of fear. He's kind of huddled in the back of the transporter.
And that's why I wanted EX-33, is because that's what I was testing. So I sort of motion at EX-33 and I say, would you mind if I disengage the dermal regenerator, EX-33?
Of course, Captain. If there's any other way that I can assist, please let me know. I'm sorry to cause our guests any distress.
It's quite all right.
And
I'm beginning. Oh, go ahead.
Wrench yells from behind the transporter console, "I told you, Al, you needed to get a haircut. You were starting to scare people."
Nix is gonna put that one in her back pocket to talk about Mr. Reg later. But I'm gonna take the dermal regenerator from EX-33 and sort of motion for them to float back, away. And again, very cautiously going to approach the alien and say, "My apologies. I did not know that our mechanical friend would startle you. May I?" And I sort of show them the dermal regenerator.
And he looks at it in wonder as you begin to treat him. So let's do I believe it's a medicine daring, I would say difficulty 2, but with the dermal regenerator, I'll give you an advantage, so a difficulty of 1. And
But I pitched that this is an improvisation type thing where I don't really have medical training, but I know how to use a dermal regenerator. It's pretty straightforward.
I'll give you that as a focus if you increase the complication range by 1, because you are in nature improving. So it could go wrong.
You know what? I'll take it. I will take it. Let's see. So if it's difficulty 1, yeah, you know what? I'll buy a third die because I want to make a good impression. All right, what do we got? All right, we got the 1. Thank the Lord, we got the 1.
So as you're running the dermal regenerator over his arm, it does the miracle science that it does, and his wound closes up, and he looks genuinely astonished as you're doing this. And he looks at his arm and he says, "Oh, the pain is gone. It is amazing. This device is miraculous."
Well, let's take a few things one at a time. What can I call you? What are you called? What should I refer to you as?
Oh, yes. Pardon me, I'm so overwhelmed by this place. You may call me Hugai.
Hugai. Is that your personal name, or is that the name of your species?
My species, we are the Lishu.
Okay, can you type that out in chat just so I spell it right? And while you're doing that, okay, I was close. I say, well, Hogai, I have a few questions for you if that's all right, but I don't want to overwhelm you more than you already have. Would you be okay with following me to a room that would overlook your planet?
I would love to do that. That would be remarkable. Captain, you said that is your name.
Captain Nix, yes.
I would love to. And he keeps glancing over at EX-33 very apprehensively.
And I think what I do is, as I'm sort of maybe helping Hogai to his feet, I sort of tap my comm badge and say, Nix to Commander Tulek.
Yes, Captain?
Let's just say that contingency plan Alpha 9 has happened. Please keep Our tour guests occupy best you can, and if any communication comes in from the planet, stall for time.
Understood?
And yeah, what do you got, Brad? I just saw that. What do you got?
No, finish your conversation. Wrench is going to pull you aside just as you go to leave our guest out of the room.
Okay, yeah, that's all I was gonna say to Telex. So yeah, you pull me to the side. What do you got for me?
And he looks around the corner to make sure that our guest is just a little out of earshot. And he says, Captain EX33 here told me not to do it, but I definitely boosted the matter gain to 154%, and we may have lost 2 inches off this guy.
I
I was
I blink
I
very
wasn't gonna tell
slowly.
you. I wasn't gonna tell you, but Al insisted, and just tell him I'm sorry. I can fix it. I can fix it.
I think Nyx is not only stunned, but maybe even a little bit flummoxed, and her expression sort of tenses, and the lines in her face become a little bit more defined. And she's not gonna go like full on spitting cobra at you, but she makes it very clear that if this is a joke, she is not amused. And we'll even say for flavor that the tip of her tail rattles just a little bit. And she says, "Mr. Allen, we're gonna have a very frank conversation once we're out of this area of space. Is that clear?"
Uh, Captain, don't worry. If I just tap into the warp core for the next transport, I could get this guy over 7 feet tall. And
I just
Al probably stuns him at this moment.
I'm just imagining the exocomp literally running over and literally just ramming into him with like a little taser like thing that he's replicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at this point I take Hogai. I want to take him, let's take him to 10 forward or the equivalent of 10 forward that would be not as overwhelming. Maybe a smaller sort of overlook of the planet.
Do we have an arboretum on the ship?
You do. You do.
Oh wait, we also have we have Cretaceous ops, don't we?
Yeah, you have an entire
Yes.
deck.
That would
Okay,
be
so thematic question then. Fogai, does he look like he's an aquatic species? As in, do the Lashu look like they have fins or webbing or things that would indicate that they are an aquatic race?
He doesn't have any obvious signs like gills or anything. I think to get to draw an analysis of if he's from like a water planet, which I think is where you're going, I'd have to make Nyx do a very low difficulty medical check, but a medical check still.
You know what? I think it's interesting when characters play outside of their strengths, so I'd like to try.
Oh, let's do a medicine insight difficulty of 1.
Literally my worst stat, but again, I think this is interesting. I'm not gonna buy an additional die though. We're just gonna see what happens.
People reading might come into play, so let's go that way too.
Well, even if I did, I only have a medicine of 1, so it doesn't matter either way. But hey, 2 successes.
He doesn't look like he's from a water planet at all, and actually what you can tell is like he doesn't have the gills, he doesn't have the webbed hands. Of course, he's wearing shoes, so you can't see his feet. He does appear to have a nose, and he's breathing in and out of his nose just fine. Like, he doesn't appear to be any kind of distress. Like, you would expect his coloring to change if he were like amphibious, as he's exposed more to air, his color might change because he might need a different like oxygen mix or anything like that. He doesn't appear to be in any distress at all in the environment you're in. And you can also tell that his skin isn't glistening it's not like a glowy or a wet skin like you would expect from someone who needs to be in water or anything like that. His skin looks almost lizard-like, but he might be able to get in water, but he does not look like his primary like mode of life is in water. And also his clothing doesn't look like it belongs underwater. Like, he's wearing more roby type stuff, and he's wearing not exactly metal but heavier bands across his chest and his neck, which is, if you were an underwater species, you would not wear that. And like the basis of a comparison you have is on the Zindi Aquatics, wear virtually no clothing.
Right. So I think I'm gonna write off Cretaceous Ops as a place to go, and I'm gonna stick with my initial like lounge / area that overlooks the planet.
All right. And Alan, at this time, what are you doing with your guests?
So he's probably taken them to um, a training room and definitely forced an ensign to do the world's lamest Anbo Jitsu demonstration. And then after that, well, you can't come on this ship and not see Cargo Bay 4.
No, don't show him Cargo Bay 4. That's where we have the still.
So, and that's it. He's trying to ping pong between rooms that are not that advanced. Like, I'm staying away from astrometrics, staying away from any sort of weapons. Don't really want to show them any really advanced technology that we have.
And just like before, they don't seem to call out anything about where you're taking them as being boring or uninteresting. And in fact, when you get the order from, I think it was the captain on the bridge to take them away from the transporter room, you kind of have to backtrack a little bit down the hallway and back where you came because you were leading them to a different area. They, again, still don't react in any way to let you know that, hey, we've been here before. They just continue to follow you wherever you take them. But in the
So Alan just keeps doing that. He's probably said the same things about the founding of the Federation. Zephram Cochrane discovering warp drive, the Vulcans and the Andorians and the Tellarites. And he's just doing that over and over again because he doesn't really want to show them anything. But if this goes on long enough, he will probably end up taking them to the holodeck.
That actually was what I was going to sort of plant the seed in your mind was, and you can feel free to write this off if this is too metagamey, but it might be one of those things where if you took them to the holodeck and sort of tried to recreate their environment with their input, we might learn a little bit more about what's going on with them.
Yeah, maybe you could intercept Alan on his tour.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Alan took them to the holodeck, his first thought would be to recreate his home. So he would probably show them Northern Ontario.
No, I like I said, that's why I said if it's too metagamey, feel free to ignore. But no, I think that's actually a good idea. Even if I don't think they're really going to respond to it, but
nope.
Actually, no, I take that back because no, that's too metagamey. I'll save it for in character. My apologies.
I would think if they responded, it'd be when we finally show off the holographic technology. That would probably be more interesting to them than like forests, nickel mines, the Great Lakes.
I don't know. I thought the Great Lakes were pretty good, but no, sorry. We're making GM Josh look at me very annoyedly.
You're going to get a very low Yelp rating if you take them to see, a coal mine.
Nickel. I said nickel.
Oh, nickel mine. Yeah. Okay, maybe like a 2-star on the Yelp review.
Sudbury has a giant nickel.
But Nick says you're leaving the transporter room with Hugai in tow, or I should say Hugon, because he's lost part of his body apparently. You notice that he does try to get as far away from EX-33 as he's following you out the door as he can. Like he's constantly keeping an eye on the exocomp as he follows you out the door.
All right.
There's a montage as the two of you are walking through the ship, and he's doing that thing where he's just looking around, looking up at the sky, and his hands are kind of out to his side, like he is very unsure. It's almost like an animal that has lived inside all the time, like a cat or something, and you let them outside, and they do that sort of crouch thing where they're like, "Oh God, there's this guy." He's kind of doing that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't think Nyx is going to interrupt unless he has any questions. Because I think Nyx understands on a fundamental level that this is something. Oh yes, this one. Rest in peace, loot. This is one of those things where you have to let them do it themselves because otherwise it's going to mess with them even further.
And after a moment, Hugai walks to you, Captain, and he says, "Do you have the technology to take others from the planet's surface?"
We do, but I need to understand what's going on your surface, on the planet's surface, before we talk about that sort of thing.
Of course. What do you want to know? I have a wife and a child who, please, I would like to rescue them if we can. Please.
Question just for thematic's sake. Have we stepped into the lounge by this point?
I think you're just outside of the lounge.
Okay. So I think I sort of smile and say, first, let's sit down and relax, if you'll follow me in here. And I'd sort of like to paint the scene of this lounge, if that's all right. The lounge is maybe about 1/4 the size of 10 forward. It maybe has only one or two windows compared to 10 forwards, like 6 or 7. It's one of those officer lounges that maybe doesn't really get a whole lot of use, so I think we're probably the only ones in there. But it still has a few tables, has a few couches, even has a replicator. And I think I beeline for the replicator and I say, would you care for a beverage, some form of sustenance, some food?
Uh, of course, I could do for that. And he kind of he catches the window and he walks over to it and seems to forget about the rest of his sentence.
And, that's kind of why I did it, because I was trying to make the replicator a little bit of a distraction so he wouldn't like go to the window and freeze up. So it's partially successful. So I think I replicate something for me, maybe a light tea. And of course I get the whole like kettle full so that if he wants some, we can certainly get him a cup for it, kind of a thing. But I think what I do is once I have the tea in hand, I move over to one of the couches that's near the window and I settle down in it and I just sort of wait and see what he does.
And he's actually got two hands on the glass window and he's touching it to see if he can actually push through it. And he says, I must be dreaming. I hoped for so long that I would see this day. This is remarkable. I must be asleep.
Well, I can assure you that you are quite within the realm of the living and the conscious.
And he kind of points to the planet. It's still off to the side. You guys aren't directly in the front part of the ship. You're probably off to the side, so you don't actually have a great view of the planet. But he says, "Is that where my family is?"
That is the planet your probe came from, yes.
Remarkable. I always dreamed of this day. And he turns to you. He says, "My friend, please, you said that you can rescue them. Please, I beg you, anything you want, anything you require. I will forever be in your service."
I hold up a cautionary hand and I say, again, we'll get to that in a moment. First, again, I need to understand what's happening on your planet. Um, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but when we first came here, when we first contacted your planet, we were put in contact with something called the One, an android unit. And I pause for just a little bit to see if he reacts to that.
Yeah, his demeanor definitely drops. He was very excited when he came over to talk to you, but as soon as you mention one or any of the units or the description of it, his face immediately changes.
So I again hold up a cautionary hand and say, do not worry. We are completely neutral in this. We have no leaning towards one side or the other. I just want to get all sides of the story here. We met with one and they didn't really tell us much about your planet, the cities, the people within. In fact, until you arrived on my ship, I didn't even know that your species existed. Um, what is the relationship between yourselves and whatever the one are? Are they captors? Are they jailers? Are they slave masters? What are they to you?
To me, they are all of that. My people are kept in the facility or the location on the planet against our will. We have no way of leaving. If we try to escape, we are immediately disintegrated. I have been there my whole life. My parents before me, my grandparents before them. The only life we have ever known has been in the facility. We don't know why we are being held, but they make us work day in on maintenance on the facility. But it is a hard life. I don't know why they keep us there, and as I've said before, any attempts to try to communicate them are met with silence, but as soon as we attempt to escape, we are immediately killed.
And I think, we've had a variety of situations on Hyperion before, and I think there's only really been one situation where Nyx was really angry, and that was with a certain experimental alien species that had a lot of hubris. But I think the key distinction here is that before she was just angry because they chose violence. This time she's angry because if she understands the situation correctly, these androids or whatever they're supposed to be called are literally keeping these people as slaves. If I infer what you've said so far, 2 billion of them, in fact. And that does not sit well with Nyx. And it's very visible on her face and body language. And I think even again, her tail rattles a little bit, which might startle Hogai, which might make Nyx stop. But she looks very displeased, and she says, "This is extremely disturbing. I was hoping that we came here, we would be able to have a peaceful first contact where we would share information and knowledge. But if what you say is correct, Mr. Hogai, I believe we now have a problem that I'm not quite sure how I want to answer. My gut tells me that I should speak to this authority and see what I can do to free your people. However, I do have to admit that my people, the Federation, we have a philosophy known as the Prime Directive. And it is something we hold paramount above all else, that we are not to interfere in the natural development of a species. I might have my hands tied here, but I can assure you I will try to keep your best interests in mind.
And he walks up to the table and he tries to grab your hands in his hands as he almost seems to be pleading with you. And he says, "Please, Captain, please, anything you can do. My people, we have been jailed in this place for the entirety of our recorded history. Please, anything you can do. I understand it may violate whatever philosophy that you hold, but I assure you, we've committed no crime."
Uh, yeah, I think at this point, Nyx is going to start asking like a few probing questions like, how many of the people do you know are on the planet? What are your living conditions like? Basically, questions that would help further establish the narrative that Hogai is setting. But I would like to sort of hand the microphone back over to either Alan or Talek at this point, because I have to think about something out of character about how to proceed from here.
Let's maybe move back to the bridge to Lek. You guys are sitting there just kind of watching the planet. Like I said, the drone that Hugai was on, as soon as you pulled him off, the drone exploded shortly thereafter. And you've been waiting just a few minutes, just watching the blue of the planet without much going on, when all of a sudden you notice several drones, probably like 5 or 6 drones, start peeling off from their position in orbit around the planet and headed towards your ship.
I'll hail one of the drones, I suppose, or just open an open channel. This is Commander Telek from the USS Hyperion. I noticed some ships approaching us. Is there anything that we can help you with?
And you don't get a reply, but from behind you, Zach says, Commander, I've noticed that their shields are raised and their weapons are armed.
Understood. Ray shields, and let's contact the captain to see what she wishes to do. So I'll call the captain, hopefully not interrupting this long list of questions.
Before that, can Lieutenant Kirkcott check to see if there's any life forms on those drones?
Yeah, certainly. So I'll give you the choice. You can succeed if you'd like, And I'll give you that question or that answer, or you can make a roll if you'd like. But if you make a roll, of course, there's always the chance for failure and complications.
Oh, I want to roll. I want more complications.
Okay. It'll be a sensor science and a reason science. Difficulty of, let's say difficulty of 1.
So down to 0. Gotta love advanced sensor suites. 2 successes.
So you don't detect any life signs aboard the drones.
Commander, it doesn't appear to. There doesn't appear to be any life forms on those drones.
Are they completely unmanned, or did
I
did 1 and 2 appear as life forms when we beamed them?
On the ship scanners, no, they did not appear as life
Okay.
forms.
So it's likely they're the same type of species as 1 and species quotes the same type of creatures as 1 and 2.
Yes, Commander. That was my hypothesis. Oh, I'm.
They may
Excuse
be
me, Commander. I'm a little
investigating
nervous.
the other drone. Well, let's see if they try to contact us.
And actually, we immediately jumped to.
So, well, what I was going to say that if shields are raised, if I remember protocol correctly, I think that automatically puts the ship at yellow alert. So it might be one of those things
Yep.
where Telek doesn't have to call the captain because the captain is calling Telek to see what's going
Right.
on.
Captain, it appears that there are several drones approaching us.
Weapons charge, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
Very well, I'll be up shortly. Captain out. And then I turn to Hogai and I say, Mr. Hogai, you'll be safe no matter where you are on my ship. However, if you wish to accompany me to the bridge, you are certainly welcome to do so, or you can remain here in this lounge. It is entirely up to you.
I would very much like to accompany you, my friend. I confess I don't quite understand what a bridge is.
It's a command center where we issue all of the orders for the rest of the ship.
Ah, of course. I would love to accompany you. If that is all right, of course, I will stay out of your way.
Very well. If you'll follow me, and I slither on out into the hallway very rapidly, but not enough that I leave Hogai behind. And as I go, I tap my comm badge and I say, next to Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen, if you'd be so kind to respond.
And Alan, before you get a chance to respond, actually, we're going to jump to you. So you are taking the 2 guests around to their next tour of Cargo Bay 4 to see the remarkable sights in the empty cargo bay. When all of a sudden, the 2 of them break out of formation from following you closely, and they were in like one after the other in a line. And they get very close to you, and they're standing side by side. And one, he says, in a much more firm tone than before, "You will turn the violator over to us immediately." And then the captain's communication comes in.
Yes, yes, Captain. It appears that our 2 guests have had a change of attitude.
Well, Mr. Allen, you may deal with them at your discretion. I'm headed to the bridge.
Yes, sir. And I'm in a cargo bay, right?
Yeah, it's at a cargo bay, not a mess hall.
Perfect. I say 1, 2. I understand, and I will take you to. What was the word you used?
You will turn the violator over to us immediately.
Violator. I will lead you to this violator. Just I am an organic life form. I have emotions, and you being this close to me, it does give me some anxiety. So if you could just give me maybe, I don't know, 6 feet.
And as you back away, they step closer again, moving in. You will turn over the violator, or this ship will be disintegrated.
Yes, as I've said, I'm going to lead you to the violator right now. I agree. This is your politics, not mine. I have no idea what's going on.
And one says, "No deceptions."
Why would I deceive you?
And he says, "I have detected your heart rate elevated, your blood pressure has risen, and you're perspiring."
That's because you came very close to me. I have a disorder. When people get that close to me, it's not pleasant for me. I tend to work alone on this ship.
And one almost tries to get in closer, and he says, "I am programmed to detect deception."
And I motion to the two to follow. And when I get to the door of the cargo bay, I lock the door and I put up a stasis field as fast as I can.
Trying to lock that in. Okay.
Yep.
Let's make this a roll because this could go a few different ways. Let's maybe do a security daring. Difficulty 3, but I'm going to spend some threat and make it a difficulty 4.
Can I pitch an assist?
Sure, if you tell me how.
So the ship, the Hyperion, would be assisting him with either a computers or a structure plus security to do the force field.
I can back that up by saying, if there was some sort of chemical spill, I assume it'd be a one button press to shut to. That's why I was glad it was a cargo bay, because if there was some sort of chemical spill or we had like biological stuff that can't be let loose, if there was some sort of accident, it'd be a one button press to shut down the area and quarantine it.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's maybe do a security structure from the ship then.
Okay. Side note, I think that's the first time it's ever been rolled in the history of Star Trek Adventure.
Security structure, nice.
Does this count as a unorthodox combat tactic?
I think so.
And what did you... Daring security?
Daring security, yeah.
Alright, I'm going to buy 2 extra dice.
I will save the ship roll for a thematically appropriate moment.
Oh!
No help from the ship, unfortunately.
So, Alan, what happens as you go to reach for the button, 2, who has never said anything to you before, he grabs your arm and stops you from pushing the button that would activate the force field, and he says, "You will comply." And 1 says, "There will be no deception."
And Alan says, alright.
Alright, maybe at that moment, so we'll give you some time to think about it, as when we move back to the bridge. Nix, as you walk on the bridge, Hugai follows behind closely, and as before, as he walks on the bridge, he has a look of wonderment as he looks around all the displays and all the people, especially on the bridge. His eye hasn't quite caught the view screen of the planet and the number of drones approaching the ship, which is immediately probably what your eyes go to.
I see the view screen. I quickly motion over at Zach and motion at Hogai so that Zach is on Hogai. And then I immediately sort of take center stage and say, Mr. Tulek, have you tried to hail them?
Several times already, they're not responding.
Let's give it one more go before things potentially get violent. Open a channel, please, audio and video. And then once the channel is established, this is Captain Nix of the Hyperion. Drone vessels approaching us. I ask you to stand down immediately. We mean you no harm. but you are approaching us in a hostile act, and if you do not power down your weapons, we will see this as an invitation for conflict. Please reply.
And not on the view screen, but over the audio, you recognize the voice of one, and one says, "You will return the violator immediately."
And would it be fair for me to assume that the one is coming from the ship, or would it be coming from the planet?
You don't know that from just hearing it. However, you know that the voice, at least you're hearing, sounds exactly like one.
Did
In that
Alan
case-
hear? Did Alan hear that?
Yes, Alan did hear that.
Okay.
Because I think then if Nyx isn't sure where it's from, she's going to motion for someone on the bridge to trace that communication, see if it's coming from inside the ship or coming from the planet.
Kirkot, very easily, you can tell that the communication, it looks like, was routed from one through the planet.
Look, Captain, it appears that the one unit is responding, but the communication is truly coming from the planet.
Well, in that case, Mr. Kirkot, I'd like you to begin signal jamming operations. Dolan,
Oh.
get me firing solutions on these drone ships. But again, hold fire until they open fire first.
Dolan says, "Yes, sir. I will arm the weapons. Do you want torpedoes or phasers or what should we do?"
Mr. Dolan, switch off with Mr. Zach.
And Zach kind of looks at Hogai. Hogai is, after you get the communication from one, Hogai is retreated into a corner, and he's not exactly slouching, but he's very much withdrawn. His hands are kind of up just to let you know that he's not doing anything hostile, especially when he sees Zach, but Zach goes back to his console.
No, I'm not mixing up NPCs, right? Zach is the security guy, right?
Yeah, Zach is the Cation security.
Okay, just making sure. So yeah, I think it's going to come down to what do the drone ships do?
I think we will leave this scene as the drones are getting closer and closer, and we're going to move back to what's going on with Alan. So Alan, your arm is being held by two. Remember, he stopped you from hitting the button, and you heard the same thing that the captain just heard, but piped through the ship speakers and the communication, basically saying that he wants you to return the violator.
Yeah, and Alan is he sighs and kind of slouches a bit and says, "All right, now, just so we're all on the same page here, we're not like a hive mind or anything, so I actually have no idea what this violator thing is. Can you at least fill me in?"
One says, "Your vessel took on a passenger. That passenger is a violator.
Okay.
That passenger will be returned to the planet, to GR-17.
And what will happen to them when they're returned?
They will be disintegrated."
Oh! Well, that's pretty steep, but my people, when, like, hundreds of years ago, we used to do the same thing to people that broke the law. So I guess I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I tried to get in the way here, and I will take you to the violator.
And one says, "There will be no deception. I am programmed to detect deception."
No. This time, two can open the door. I'm pretty sure you guys can figure that out. And then I'll lead you.
And two slowly withdraws his arm and lets you, regain the usage of your arm. However, he's still standing very close, so if you were to hit the button, like, it still wouldn't trap him. At that point, he's kind of out in the hallway, out of the cargo bay with you. But as he lets your arm go, he says, "You will comply."
Who said that? Two or one?
That's two.
Oh, so he does speak. I point to him.
And one says, "There will be no deception. The violator has broken a directive of the authority."
Now, and to be fair, we can agree that violating one's laws does require a punishment, right?
Alan, why don't you give me a command presence here, a difficulty of 3.
Oh, that's not going to work for me. I don't care, though. I'm not lying. I'm just trying to see what their response is. Oh. I only have 2 dice to roll. There's no momentum. I don't feel like spending threat on this because he's just literally curious as to what they're going to say.
I think a focus and survival might apply here. Yeah.
Whoops, I rolled the wrong guy. That's not me. You said command.
Command presence.
Well, it's better here. And you said survival would work.
Yeah, survival would work.
Oh, that's bad. That means I'm just talking. I'm not getting in their way. Oh, well, that's just 2 successes, though. Not enough.
So what happens is 2 gets closer to you and he's almost touching you at this point, like his body is almost touching you. And he says, "You will comply." And 1 says, "The violator is to be disintegrated. I do not want to disintegrate you and this vessel."
So, what? I'm very confused here, guys. I'll take you. Just open the door. I was just having a conversation. We could move and talk at the same time, unless you people are not capable of that.
And 1 says, "Very well, lead us to the violator. However, as I have said, I am programmed to detect deception."
Understood. And I don't touch the door. I said number 2 has to touch the door.
And Alan, where are you going to lead them?
The moment number 2 turns to open the door, I'm going to draw my phaser and fire at number 1. He assaulted me. They assaulted me.
All right.
I have no idea what's going on in the rest of the ship. They assaulted me. All I was intending to do was shut this room down. I wasn't going to attack them at all.
So let me know, is this going to be non-lethal or a lethal attack?
Definitely non-lethal.
Okay. So it's a difficulty of 2. It's a security control, please.
I do have a focus and hand phasers.
Yeah.
Is it 1 threat to get to get an extra die?
Yeah.
I will do that.
Very good shot. So that's 2 momentum.
And I'm firing at number 1.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you these guys have 4 non-lethal resistance.
Okay. So it is a phaser. I didn't aim. So I just get what I get. Oh, it's not rolling the challenge dice.
Is the macro not working?
It's bringing up D20 when I go to roll the challenge dice on the phaser damage.
You might have to just roll the macro.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you try to run it from the from the sheet itself, it tries to actually roll the attack. But you should be able to do the challenge dice manually with the separate macro.
Is a type a hand phaser is 2 or 1?
3 plus your security.
Yeah, if it's a
3,
type 2.
okay.
If it's a type 2, which I'm
8.
assuming you have, yeah, it's 3 plus security. That's a very good shot. So, as I said before, they have 4
3 attack.
resistance. You could spend momentum if you'd like to bypass that resistance, but that with resistance not removed would only do 3 damage to Mr. 1.
Yeah, so if I remove 1 resistance, if I spend 1 to remove 2 resistance, that's enough for a injury, right?
It is, yeah.
Yep.
But what I would ask is, could he also maybe spend the 1 momentum to make it an area attack?
I think in this case that's not going to really work for Alan because he's so close to them. Like 2 is
The way I see it physically is that 1 is directly in front and 2 is like to the left and like
Mhm.
towards the computer console.
Okay, yeah, then area really wouldn't work. Sorry, never mind me.
sorry, as I maintained that 2 was staying very close to Alan, I don't think it would work.
Yeah, he's like right next to me. He's just turned to look at the console.
So if you want to spend that momentum, that will give enough to apply an injury to 1. And I'm actually going to go a little with it. I'm going to go as you shoot 1, what happens is your shot, maybe you shoot him in a vital place, but he actually falls backwards and he lands with a heavy thud onto the ground.
And then the rest of my plan was to spend that second point of momentum to use a swift action to fire again.
Okay.
And
The only
because I have
difference-
fire at will, so there's no increased difficulty.
Cool. So it's difficulty 2.
I have too many windows open and only 1 monitor, and it's taking me too long to get to the screen I need.
Welcome to my life.
Same.
Now we have I spent all the momentum we earned, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So no momentum. I will just fire normally at 2.
That's all you need.
Nice.
This time, I doubt I'm going to get the damage I need. No, not even close.
So to do the same things that you could do
can
with
I
momentum,
give
you could
you-
give me threat. Yeah,
1 threat to re-roll the blanks.
you can.
3, 4, 5. I will do that. So 3, 4. So 7 with 1, 2, 3, 4 effects. The effects I believe don't matter because I didn't charge.
It's the same situation as before because this guy has a resistance of 4. If you gave me a threat, that would bypass enough resistance to do an injury on him.
Ugh.
I'd say
Do
do
we
it.
think that? You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would mean I've given him 3 threat, and
I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine.
You know what? David Allen, if he's nothing else, is resolute. So I will do it.
And in the same way, as you spin around Alan, you take a shot at 2, you hit it right in the face. And 2 stumbles backwards into the hallway, also deactivated. And in a split second, Alan, you've managed to take out both of the GR units.
Can I say that they're both still in the cargo bay?
Yeah, sure.
What I will do is then do what I first intended to do, which is, boom, hit the button, lock it down. I will stay in the cargo bay with my phaser trained on them, and then I will communicate with the captain.
Okay. Let's maybe transition back to the bridge. Immediately, the drone posture seems to have changed. Now, they had their shields before and they had their weapons locked on you guys, but they were holding their distance. Now, something seems to have changed, and they're now heading aggressively towards you guys at top speed, leaving the lower confines of the planet, orbit, and heading directly at you.
And you hear through the communicator, Captain, Commander, 1 and 2, they said they were going to disintegrate our guest. I went to keep them in this room, and they attacked me. So I've disabled both, and I have them locked down in Cargo Bay. What did I say? Cargo Bay 4 or 6? I can't remember. Cargo Bay. There's a little bit of interference there.
Very good, Mr. Allen. Honestly, if you want to vent them into space, that is entirely your discretion.
I don't wish to do that. But I had. They're probably going to. I think they're a hive mind, Captain, and I think whoever's out there probably knows what's happened in here.
That would track with what we're seeing up here on the bridge.
I heard them. I heard one communicating with you when you attempted to communicate with the drones. Who's this violator?
The violator is the actual resident of the planet that I had you skirt the previous guests away from the transporter room so that I could interact with them in private.
And new guy says, excuse me, Captain. If I may,
Just sort of motion for him to continue.
The resources of the GR units are endless. They have thousands upon thousands of drones to throw at your vessel. If it will stop the conflict, you may return me and I will suffer my fate. I only ask that you save my family and as many people as you can.
Captain, they said, I asked one what was going to happen, and one said our guest was going to be disintegrated, and if we stood in their way, they would disintegrate me and then the ship. And you could kind of hear Alan is a bit of short of breath and kind of has like the adrenaline rush.
In character, I know what Nyx would do. Out of character, the problem is I think this is one of those situations where if their numbers are truly endless, I think Nyx is going to fight until the breaches get too bad or something else happens. Like, she's going to stand the ground because that's the sort of person she is. But I also want to have that conversation out of character. Like, are people okay with Nyx making that sort of decision?
In character, Alan has no idea what's going on really. This is all kind of just it was a calm tour, very boring, and then boom, threats of disintegration. So he has no idea what's going on. Like big picture wise, as a character, is it Starfleet's place to step into a situation like this? They didn't step in, like they didn't do anything to try to save the Remans from Romulan control, or I think the Klingons had conquered several species. They didn't do anything about that, so I don't know. They did. He did ask for help, but is he like a member of the government, or is he just a guy? And does that matter? It's such a big
it's a
picture.
Gray area.
It's such a screw it with your head. And I think if this was the ideal situation, Starfleet would debate about this for months.
Mm-hmm.
Except you're the captain of the starship that's in this situation, and you have to make the decision now.
Mm-hmm. What are you saying, Nick? Or did we lose Nick?
Oh, sorry. I did not hear completely what you were saying because there was crosstalk.
Oh, sorry. I just asked if what you were about to say.
No, I literally stopped mid-sentence.
Might be more interesting if we go ahead and see how this plays out. I think it'll be a good character moment.
Okay. Because sort of to reveal Nyx's thinking is that because Hogai has made several requests for aid, she's taking that to mean that he has requested asylum. And asylum is one of those instances where you can break the Prime Directive, or at least we see it broken multiple times, at least in TNG, because someone requests asylum, and that leads to, certain scenarios.
Yep.
So yeah, I think back in character. I think Nix tells Alan, Mr. Allen, I need you up on the bridge on the double. Send a security team to deal with 1 and 2. And let's see what we can do about the situation. Hopefully we can knock a few drones out and they'll stand down.
Yes, sir. And Alan runs over to the panel, turns off the force fields and the quarantine shields, exit the room, and turns the back on from inside the hallway outside the cargo bay. Calls on security team 1 to cargo bay 6, and fills them in on what they're doing as he runs to the turbo lift.
And as you're running to the turbo lift, let's transition to some structured combat here. So as the ships are moving in, I'll tell you a little bit about them. They're scale 3, so they're very small. They're not actually designed, it seems, to hold passengers. It appears as Mr. Hugai may have found his way on that vessel some other way. But there are 3 of them moving in, and actually a cloud of them behind these 3. But I will leave the first action to you guys.
All right. Remind me just I was wondering where the range thing is. So they are medium from us.
Yeah, they're just on the edge of medium, and then the other drones, I believe, would be long range.
Might actually be. Oh, no, I guess that one is technically a long. I think honestly, what I would say is let's let Alan go first, because he can use his miner to get up to the bridge, and then he can open fire on the drone.
Okay.
Do we want to open fire first?
And that's what I'm debating, though. Do you have quick to action?
I do.
Okay, then let's do it this way. Nix is going to try one last Hail Mary of diplomacy, and then if they don't reply to that, we'll quick to action, and then you can open fire.
Let me move us back to the bridge so that we can have that character shot of Nix as Nix tries to resolve this peacefully. So, what do you say, Nix?
I have a question. Well, I might have to do a follow-up question, but during all this time around the planet, have we been able to determine if the signal from the planet is coming from a specific area, like a specific city or spire?
It's not coming from a specific building that you can tell. It's probably a transmitter of some sort that's still underwater, that's communicating with a satellite in orbit, or a satellite system in orbit.
Well, that gives me a new idea. But the reason for asking is I was hoping to try to contact the authority directly. Ooh, you know what? That's okay. So let's try that first, and if that doesn't work, I'll reveal what I just thought of. So I say, go ahead.
I also don't think I don't think Kirkot ever actually tried to block the signals because everything got crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But just bringing that up.
No, it's a fair point. Yeah, let's.
That assumes a lot to go with that as our first action. So
it is, yeah. I think then she's just going to direct another sort of broadcast message to the planet and hope the authority gets it. So once the channel's established, Nick says, "This is again Captain Nix of the Hyperion. I'm trying to get in contact with the authority directly. I do not wish this to devolve into violence and disintegration, but I have a individual aboard my vessel that has requested political asylum. It is within my duty and power to protect them, but again, I do not wish this to devolve into violence. Please, I implore you, the entity known as the Authority, to open a dialogue and prevent any needless destruction.
So two things, Nix. First of all, this will have a role that I'll talk about in a second, but this action that you're taking, stopping to have this conversation to try to convince them, this will be the action of the Hyperion. So unless you spend momentum or threat or something to like, keep the initiative or quick action or something, that would mean if you fail, that it will actually transition to the drone's turn to actually like start attacking the ship.
Right.
So this difficulty, you're going to do a command presence here. I believe the difficulty is a 4.
Okay. No momentum. I'm going to spend my determination because, again, peace is always an option. That is something that has been key to Nyx's character this entire time. Would you give me persuasion as a focus?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. I'm also going to give you 2 threats so that I'm rolling 3 dice. And could I finagle that the ship is assisting me with not a structure and command, but maybe a communications and command?
How so? What would that achieve?
Mostly that the ship is doing its best to truly broadcast the message to all receiving ends of the planet, meaning that if anyone is receiving down there, they're going to hear the message, which might get the authority to respond quicker.
Yeah, I like that. That'll work.
Plus,
Right, so
there's some
someone-
really heroic music playing underneath.
I think that's key.
Yeah, I think that is what has to happen.
Of course, you have to tell me which song in order to get the correct.
Well, remember how I made the joke a few sessions ago about certain holding out for a hero song? Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's say
I was thinking pop and circumstance, but yeah, I like that better.
I think it's all good.
Can there be a mix of the two? I don't know. I'm struggling.
Listen,
there,
if I can invent the genre known as techno ska, I think we can mix it. I think it is possible.
let's say the ship will assist you with a command comms.
Cool.
Also, the first time I've ever seen that combination, so it also I like that.
Nick, do you want to take the ship?
I have the thing open.
All right, here we go. Here's Nyx's roll. Well, that's
that's
already
enough.
6 successes.
Oh,
All right, 6 successes.
Holy potatoes!
The drones actually hold position. They are still close to you, obviously, and some are in weapons range, but they stop their motion. And this is the 3 that were close, and also the cloud of drones behind you. And a second later, over the audio, again, no visual, you hear, "You may address me as 3.
Hello, 3. Are you speaking on behalf of the authority?
The authority has agreed to meet with you."
Oh. I'm getting Star Trek 2009 vibes from this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I am too. I would be happy to meet with the authority. Where would this meeting be taking place?
The authority is not integrated into our communication system. You will have to visit the authority here on the planet.
Do I have the authority's assurances that no harm will come to my people and my guest aboard my vessel?
We do not engage in deception.
I think at this point, I would look at Hogai and maybe even do that, like cut comms, not like completely cut them off, but like cut it so that the audio's off on our end. And I'd look to Hogai and say, is it true? Do they say what they mean?
At this point, I'm going to put you on the bridge, Alan, so you can get involved here somewhere. But Hogai, he says, "There are many failings of the GR units, but that is a correct statement. Deception is not one of the things that they practice."
And then I looked at Telek and I looked for Alan for their input.
Alan, one hand on the console. He's out of breath, and then he points to Hogai. Violator?
Mm-hmm.
Is that your actual name?
no.
Oh,
They told him that.
would have. Would have been a good name.
It would, but he's requesting asylum.
Alan will briefly look down at his console and say, I think our options here, Captain, are run or go down there. I don't think we can fight.
Well, Commander Telek, what are your thoughts?
I'm confident in your ability to create peace here. So I think we should talk to them.
I motion.
Mis-
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. I still haven't got his name. You, new guy. Do they have any sort of do they value each other's lives? We have two of them locked up in our cargo bay.
A new guy says, my name is Hugai, friend.
I was close with new guy. Okay.
Yes, I was named this as a child because no one could remember who I was. They would say, who is that guy, Hugai?
Damn it, G and Josh.
A story for another time.
Brad.
And now we've unveiled the secret of how I named this NPC. I must say, friend, in my time alive, I have never witnessed any of the GR units value life. They have a set of rules that they follow, and if you violate them, you are immediately disintegrated without quarter or mercy.
This sounds
If you
seems
operate-
awfully familiar, Captain.
If you operate inside of their laws and their structure, you are not harmed.
Well, Captain, if we can get some sort of assurance that we will face no harm, I guess we have to go down there.
Well, I think we did just get that, Mr. Allen. Reopen
Yeah,
the
sorry,
channel.
I might have missed some of that. I was completely out of breath. This is a big ship.
Yeah, it's part of her charm. And yeah, once the channel is open again, I say, if you or the authority could designate a landing coordinate, I will come down myself in a shuttle.
You are free to use your transporter device. We will give you coordinates.
Does he actually provide the coordinates?
He does, and as soon as he transmits it, he says, "We do not engage in deception."
Nor do we. I will see you promptly. And then I motion to actually cut the comms. And I think I sort of just motion around to everyone on the bridge. Well, to be frank, people, this might be a suicide mission. But if there's a chance that I can affect change for the good, I think I have to take it. Therefore, I'm only asking for volunteers on this one. Only those of you that are completely okay with the perhaps necessity of disintegration. I need you to be okay with that before you volunteer.
I'll accompany you, Captain.
Alan looks down at his phaser and then looks up at the captain and the commander and says, "Well, I've already shot 2 of them, so I guess I should come with you. What's next?" You can tell he doesn't want to, but he feels obligated to go to protect his captain and Commander Telek.
New guy says, "Captain, it is By my knowledge, no one has ever visited the Authority before. You would be the first.
Then perhaps we can find some common ground in that unfamiliarity.
I hope so,
Captain,
Captain.
Captain, do we bring Hugai with us?
No, who guys stays here?
Hugai, I recommend you try some. You go to the 10 forward and try some beaver tails from the replicator.
I don't know what a beaver tail is or a replicator.
You won't be disappointed. I don't want to give it all away.
Yeah, I think at that point Nyx just says very well. Oh boy, who gets command while we're both away? Tell me what's Zach's rank again?
I think I said Zach is a chief.
I think we've
Okay,
made a
so it
lot
can't
of
be
entrance
him.
stuff.
Parlock's a senior chief. I honestly think it's
Just
Kirkot,
call
unless
in.
Dolan is higher.
Can you put a medical officer in charge?
Yeah, I mean, if they've got a sufficient rank, yeah.
Astrid's a lieutenant, and I don't think we have a sheet for our actual doctor. But they might
Have the
also be a higher rank.
doctor be a hologram here in charge, please.
Yes,
You know,
floating
actually,
whale.
Idari is the command of Delta Shift, the Efrosion, or Idosian.
Oh.
So you could always get wake up Idari to take over.
Yeah, but now Nick has reminded me that a flying Zindi aquatic around the bridge would be very funny. So now I think what's going to happen is
Yes.
I'm going to put the call out to our doctor to take over.
And within a moment, materializing the hologram of Dr. Jarvik as he's floating on the bridge next to you. Hello, Captain. I hope you are well.
Well, I hope I do continue to be well. I need you to take over the ship temporarily by myself, Telek, and Alan head down to the planet.
I will do that, Captain. And for my part, I hope your mission is successful and we could embark on some shore leave.
It has been so noted, Doctor.
And he's just kind of hovering there, floating. Again, as
Yeah.
he's a hologram, he has no water, but you just see his body floating in space.
With that in hand, I think I take Telek and Alan down to the shuttle bay because I do want to take a shuttle and not transport.
Okay.
And just before we leave the bridge, Alan turns to Commander Tulek and whispers, "It's strange to see the commanding officer not sit in the chair."
Well, I'm sure he can hover over it and that'll work just as fine.
So
I
just
guess
to
you're right.
repeat, we've got Alan, we've got Nyx, and we've got Telek. It's just the three of you guys?
Please tell me somebody can
Mhm.
drive the ship. Do we have
I mean-
somebody that can drive?
Nyx has a con of 3. She can fly.
Okay.
Control con. Yeah, Alan's actually pretty skilled at skilled. I would have a total of 15.
Oh, well, I think you're our pilot then.
You're hired.
That's the benefit of putting all your points into control because you want to shoot your phaser at everything.
All right, so we jump to the next scene of the shuttle leaving the back of the Hyperion. And Alan,
I don't think we want to bring anything special, do we?
I was debating taking transporter enhancers, but I figure if we're taking the shuttle anyway, the shuttle's going to have its own transporters. So maybe we just bank on the fact that if we need to beam out, that we have some sort of pre-set up prepared. That's the word I wanted. We have some sort of prepared scenario where we just tap our comm badge say like a beam out pattern beta, and the shuttle beams us away, kind of a thing.
Is the location that we're going to underwater? Like, do we know if we'll be able to breathe in the facility itself?
The facility,
mean-
as all the others, yes, is underwater. As far as other environmental conditions, you don't know yet.
But our new friend was from there,
Yeah.
and he doesn't appear to be an underwater species. So, and you know what? We could just not get out of the shuttle if it's not possible to breathe.
Okay.
We'll just turn around. I think to actually have to actually take suits or to take like Type 3 phasers, we'd have to give threat, right?
Yeah.
The phasers, yes, but if it's one of those things where suits are required to function in the environment, I think we do get the suits for free. But
this
it's
case-
only if they're required.
In this case, the suits are not required. It would be extra for you guys, yeah, to get the suits.
Okay.
There is one thing I'm trying to find in the list here. Maybe someone can find it faster than me. But isn't there a personal shield generator, or am I thinking of something in homebrew?
No, I'm fairly certain there is. I just have no idea where to look in the book.
Yeah, let's
Technology. Okay.
see if we can find
187.
it real quick.
I bought that bundle that came up that had all the almost all the books. So now I have them all PDF, which is pretty nice.
That's a good deal.
It
I've
was
got
a
it
great
as
deal.
Opportunity 1, Escalation 2.
Mm-hmm. But it does provide resistance 4.
Yep.
And every time it's hit, they have to roll a challenge die. And if they roll an effect, the force field is deactivated for the rest of the scene. Here's the thing. Nyx is obviously going down with the understanding that this is a suicide mission. But I'm wondering if it would also be in her wheelhouse to realize that maybe she wants to have everybody equipped with a personal force field, simply because she doesn't want, us to get in front of the authority and the authority goes disintegrate and we get disintegrated.
This is going to sound stupid. What's the difference between opportunity cost and escalation cost?
I believe.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I believe with Opportunity, you have to pay it for every player that wants it. And Escalation, you just pay it once.
Okay.
So if you all wanted to have the personal force field, you'd have to give me 3 momentum and 2 threat.
Which we don't have.
That's a lot.
So you could cash all that out as to 5 threat.
Why don't we just rely on David Allen to be your personal shield? He is
we can do that.
resolute.
We can certainly do that. Yeah, I'm looking through the gear list now. I don't think we're taking anything major here.
You could always take some augment blood. So if you get killed, you can just inject yourself and you'll be fine. All right, what about weapons? Are you just taking the phasers that you have? So phaser 2s?
Yeah, I think phaser 2s.
I think so. Phaser 3 is very aggressive. I will take everything that's cost 0 though. So I have a pad. I have my Type 2 phaser. I have a Type 1 phaser tucked into my boot. Anything that's free, I'll take it.
Okay. Personal holographic projector with like pictures of your parents.
If that's free, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I have it.
Okay, so let me describe the scene as the shuttle leaves the back of the Hyperion from the main shuttle bay. As you pull around, Alan, this is a, effortless maneuver guided by the tractor beam of the ship. As you pull away off
Can
into
I roll
space,
for it?
Yeah, if you want to. I'll let you roll for it.
I would love to.
Okay. Give me a con control, let's say difficulty of 1.
Oh, 1? Oh, no.
Hang on. I've got all this threat. Hang on. I'm going to make it a difficulty of 3.
No! I pass.
Did you roll?
You're gonna make me roll for it now?
Yeah,
Damn
yeah.
it.
You said it.
You did
Con
this.
control difficulty of 3.
I don't have anything to spend. I'm
Well, the
just
good
gonna
news is the shuttle helps you.
I assume this is the succeed at cost.
Yeah, this is probably a succeed at cost moment. I think I'll take the threat back. Actually, no.
You said it was effortless.
I have a great idea for a complication here.
I have one too. Would you like to hear mine, or do you want to roll with yours?
I want to go with mine, and I think mine is probably way more crueler than yours. As you pull away, Alan, you do nick the side of the shuttle as you're, flying out of the shuttle bay, perhaps because you're distracted on the task at hand, and you just got in a fight with 2 killer synthetics. From your console Telek, you see what Alan just did is he just disabled your shuttle transporter. As in, you're actually gonna have to get out of the shuttle and replace the parts. There's no repairing it.
I mean, I was going to go with he literally tore off into the cell and we were spiraling down to the planet, so sure, I'll take
Well,
that.
this is better. Please don't tempt him.
So yeah, your transport on the shuttle has been basically destroyed.
Just so everybody is aware, the transporter on this shuttle is non-functional now, so if we want to transport out, we need to communicate that to the ship.
Well, it seems I need to have a conversation with 2 Allens after today.
Captain, I'm sorry. There was some sort of interference when the
I'm
ship's
making a
tracking
joke, Alan.
disengaged.
Don't worry about it.
Captain, I'm not. This is a serious problem. We are not going to be able to get out of this situation quickly.
Then I guess we'll just have to use our words and hope that the authority listens.
I hope so too. And Alan hits the large red autopilot button.
All right. And as we see the shuttle, it makes towards the planet. The planet gets larger and larger until blue just fills your field of view because the planet is just one large ocean. And as you're following the course, the autopilot is taking you closer and closer to the water. It engages its shields, I guess, or some other device for the shuttle. As it enters the water, if someone could give me an engineering structure, I think I have the shuttle out sheet for you guys. The question is, did I stat it?
You
Yes, I
did.
did. If somebody could give...
What kind of is it a type 11?
It's whatever type you want. Because I can't remember.
Well, that looks like it's type 7. If I
I
remember
think
those
I'd plan
stats
on it
correctly.
being runabout, actually. I think it has the runabout talents, yeah. So I think these are actually runabout stats.
I mean, yeah, that works for me.
So it is tougher. But if someone could give me an engineering structure difficulty 1.
Sure, I'll grab that. I need to stop doing that.
All right. So what happens is the shuttle perhaps was not calibrated in order to enter the water at the speed that it thought it could. So what I'm going to do is roll a challenge dice. If I get an effect, that means that someone takes the whole console exploding situation. So the shuttle shakes and rattles as you guys enter the water very hard, but you continue on towards the facility. And we actually have a good view of that.
I think Alan looks at the console and says, "Autopilot, what the hell?"
But as you guys continue underwater, you get finally a good view of the installations, which are scattered throughout the planet. And much as we've discussed already from the sensors, they're not very ornate or decorative. There's some aquatic wildlife, of course, but there's no one outside really of these installations. There's no submarines or anyone swimming around. It's just blocks and blocks of installations that are just perched kind of on the bottom of the ocean. and they look very formidable. Like I said, just blocks, very hard angles. There are some windows in certain areas, but for the most part, it's just plain shapes. But as you enter the water, you head towards one of the larger ones, and you notice immediately, Alan, that taking up position next to you are two drones. They're sort of escorting you in.
Do I notice it first on sensors, or is it visual?
Oh, it's visual. The drones are not keeping their
Yeah,
distance.
okay.
They are very close. So you can just look out the display, or out the cockpit window, and you can see the two drones on either side.
Captain, I guess we're VIPs, and I point out both of them.
Well, let's hope we don't turn into the type of VIP that ends up as extra crispy bacon.
Oh, crispy bacon reminds me. I hope this doesn't come up, but unless you're an expert shot, stun setting is not going to put these guys down. What would you
Noted.
like us to do, Captain?
If it comes down to a firefight, you have my authorization to use a higher setting,
Okay.
Understood.
but only as a last resort. Let's make that abundantly clear.
Yes, sir.
And after a moment, the shuttle pulls into a landing bay. It's completely submerged at this point, the landing bay, but then as the shuttle lands, the water is slowly drained out, and you can see then the inside of the landing pad, there's like an airlock that is beginning to cycle, and it opens into the facility. But they have removed all of the water, and you can see on your scanners that they have replaced the landing facility with air and a breathable atmosphere and all that.
Is there any GR units waiting for us when we pop the hatch?
No, not in the landing area, no. But they do have the doors leading into another part of the facility. It's sort of like an airlock situation where they have the outer door open for you, but the inner door is still closed.
Right. Well, unless Alan or Talek objects, I think Nyx is going to lead the away team in through the airlock.
I think Alan gives you the look. And unless you give a signal, lets you go first as like because it's like a diplomatic thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Nyx, as you step off the shuttle and you walk in through the outer airlock doors and everyone's following you and you actually are in the airlock proper, the outer doors close. So what's happened is as those doors close, you are isolated from the shuttle. So imagine almost like a shuttle bay, if you will, and then the exit to the shuttle bay is this airlock. So they've closed those doors. It doesn't seem very unusual. This is probably the way they cycle people through by not, having this landing bay open to water. You could still enter the airlock, but the outer door closes. There's a moment, and then the inner door closes, and you guys find yourself standing in to the facility proper. And immediately, there is one of the GR units walking towards you, but the facility the ceiling is pretty low. It is well lit. Nyx, you immediately notice how cold it is here. It is very, very cold. Like you would probably also notice that they've kept it very, very chilly. So something in the nature of probably like 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
I don't know what that means. I'm Canadian.
For once, the Americans are in control of the temperature.
10 degrees Celsius. There you go.
Oh, that's still shorts weather.
Not like freezing, so there's no ice, but not exactly comfortable perhaps for a snake. Or maybe colder for a Vulcan. The entire facility, it seems to be very like chrome and metal, smooth flooring, smooth walling. There are markers, indicating where certain areas are, but it's a very antiseptic place, if you had to label it. There are no smells. It just smells like very clean, very recycled air. And the colors are very drab, very gray. But as you walk through the doors, one of the GR unit approaches you. He looks just like one, actually. And he says, I am the designation of 3.
Hello, 3. Please take us to the authority.
And he looks at you. You will leave your weapons here if you seek to meet with the authority.
I think Nyx makes a grand show of taking off her Type 2. But as a reminder, Type 1s are hidden. So if you guys want to keep your Type 1s.
Yep, I specifically said that I stuck one in my boot, so I'm also doing the same thing.
Yep, if he doesn't notice, then I just won't say anything.
And 3 doesn't search you or, make a move to do any of that. He just notices as your weapons are placed, so you can keep your things like your tricorders. He's just assuming that you're putting your weapons down. And as you go to do that, he says, we will tolerate no deception.
3, how do you know 1 and 2?
3 is my designation.
So you're not friends with them?
And he just kind of stands there and does not reply.
If you don't reply, I'm going to assume you don't like them. All right. I'm going to tell everyone. 3 does not like 1 and 2.
And then he turns, you will follow me to the authority.
Yeah, we follow, unless there's any objections.
And as you guys follow 3, he's walking through the installation. You walk past several groups of Leishu, and they're cleaning the corridors, or they're cleaning the walls. They're repairing parts of the installation and doing various tasks here and there. They're all very dressed, very similar to Hugai. And as you walk by, they all kind of sneak a glance at you, but as they notice 3 walking by, they immediately return back to their tasks.
I really wish I was good at science, because I would like to start scanning the area, just for basic information, nothing specific. Just like if they haven't taken our tricorders, might as well use it.
Certainly. What type of information are you looking for, and that'll determine the role?
I think Alan's just doing like while I'm here, and just trying to what are these walls made of? What's the specific atmosphere of this facility? Nothing like tactically important, and nothing that's going to help in any sort of situation that we might encounter. Literally just when in Rome, let's do some science.
Okay, why don't you give me a reason science, difficulty 0.
Oh, now you give me the difficulty 0.
And the way we'll flavor it is I'll just give you some basic information, and you can always spin threat or momentum even if you want to learn more.
I can't believe I succeeded.
So 1 momentum. Basically, the environmental conditions are very similar to your ship, apart from being a little colder. Your tricorder immediately tells you that the air, it smells so clean because it is so clean. They've managed to filter out any kind of bacteria or other dust particles. This facility is incredibly clean. In fact, you guys are probably bringing dust with you onto the facility that it's going to immediately have to deal with. You also detect the Leishu of various ages. There are young here, there are old. Your tricorder picks up a total of probably 3 generations are currently alive, at least in your immediate area.
And I look at my tricorder. I turn to Telek and say, "Wow, they're really good at air filtration." And legitimately impressed is what you're getting from Alan. He's totally, while we're here, and if they don't mind, we might as well just scan.
I'm curious what Nyx is doing walking past all of the Lishu.
I mean, she's definitely taking note of them, but I think she's more focused on the multiple eventualities of what might happen with the authority. That while she's again noting their presence, she's not actively like looking at them in pity, kind of a thing.
Eventually, 3 leads you. You notice you're going down further and further, mostly through steps as you're walking down the installation. And 3 leads you to a giant door and stops. He says, "This door leads to the authority."
Can you open it for us?
Yes. And he hits a button, and the door opens, and the room beyond is very dark.
Well, I sort of look at Talek, I look at Alan, shrug, and proceed in first.
And as you
Alan
all,
takes his tricorder and hey, 3, can you tell us how you get this much efficiency out of your air filtration? You know what? It does. I'll ask you later. And then he follows
Follow the
follows
captain.
in.
and 3 doesn't even make a motion to reply to you, Alan. He immediately, after the 3 of you walk in, he hits a button and the door slams shut behind you, and you're in total darkness. Some time passes, and
I turn on my holographic unit as a light.
you see that you're actually standing on sort of a platform, and some time passes, and lights appear at your feet, and you see this platform extends to sort of an ending, maybe 5 meters ahead of you. And as you notice that, some more lights come on, and an image appears above you. What you see is, it looks like a circular holographic projection, and it is obviously a model of the system. In fact, you see the sun, or at least a crude holographic projection of the sun, and then around that sun is an orbital representation of the planet, and then actually a graphic that represents the Hyperion, most likely. But it's continuing to track those, and then you hear a voice. "I am the authority."
And the voice, I'm assuming it's omnipresent.
Oh yes, it's one of those booming, deep voices that's completely filling the room.
Then Nyx just sort of replies very calmly and confidently. This is Commander Talek. This is Lieutenant Commander. Alan's the Lieutenant Commander, right? I'm not mixing up your rank.
No, just lieutenant.
Just Lieutenant. This is Lieutenant Alan, and I am Captain Nyx.
"You have arrived at my planet GR-17. You will return the Violator immediately."
I have many questions for you, Authority. My first is this. What is it you need the Lishu for?
"The Lishu are the prisoners of GR-17.
Can you elaborate?
The Lishu committed a crime, and their punishment was isolation on GR-17.
Can you be more specific about the crime?
I do not contain information on the crime that they committed."
Mr. Authority, who does have that information?
"I do not have information on who would track that information."
When were they
Huh.
brought here?
"They were brought approximately 1,000 planetary rotations ago."
Now, out of character, does that mean days or does that mean years? Because
That
that's a
mean-
very different set of scenarios.
Yeah, that means years.
Okay. In that case, oh, go ahead.
Alan's just still flabbergasted. 1,000 years. Because humanity 1,000 years ago was in the Middle Ages almost. The Renaissance, maybe?
Indeed, authority, it stands to reason that 1,000 rotations, as you put it, is more than sufficient for the crime they seem to have committed. If you do not contain information on the crime, would you not say that a certain sentence has been carried out already? Would these prisoners not be eligible for parole?
That is irrelevant. My mandate is that the Shu cannot leave this planet under any circumstances. That is my directive.
And who gave you that directive?
That information is unknown.
So just to make sure I understand correctly, you were made by someone you don't know. They told you to keep the Lashu here. Again, you have no idea who they are or what the Lashu did. And as a person following orders, you have kept the Lashu here for 1,000 years. Do I have that correct?
That is correct.
Then does it not stand to reason that you require an update on your situation? 1,000 years is a very long period of time. Many things could have changed. As warden of this prison, would it not behoove you to contact someone to check in to see if the Lashu's sentencing has changed?
No. My mandate is clear. The Lashu cannot leave the planet under any circumstances.
Out of character, any ideas?
Yeah, I was going to see if I can tell anything about the technology that is right in front of me.
Yeah, Talek, why don't you give me a reason engineering difficulty of 3? And you do have a focus.
Can I run like a cover? And it's unlikely that it would actually be distracted by me, but Alan asks, so like, is there a GR16? What's GR16? What about GR15?
Nix, are you gonna let him have this line of discussion with the authority?
I mean, if it's gonna buy Telex some time, yeah.
I'll say
I'm
Talek.
actually going to use my determination. I'm going to use machines are easier to understand than people.
Whoa. That's so on the nose. That's awesome.
That is good.
Oh, no!
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Nice.
Can I assist since I'm trying to distract this unit?
Yeah, Alan, I'll let you do a command presence. Command presence assist. I think
Tonight
Talek, you
is
had
not
enough.
my night to roll.
I think you have
Would
enough successes.
investigation?
Yeah, I think investigation would work as a focus, but I think we had 3. The difficulty was 3, so with your determination, you have 3.
Yeah.
And then Alan, you have a 4, so I believe that gets you a momentum. The question is, do you want me to keep the complication?
Is it 1
Yeah.
or 2 to get rid of the complication?
It's 2.
Oh. Well, did we have 1 already?
Yeah, I think you did, so you would have 2 now.
We could bite off.
I think it's
I
more
feel
interesting to keep it.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I feel like he has a lot now. I gave him half of whatever he has. I think he has a lot of threat.
Let's keep it. Let's see what happens. I just
All
wanna
right,
see what
all right.
happens.
So first of all, Talek, let me tell you about let me give you the answer to your question about how this thing works, and especially since you spent determination. Talek, what you've realized is this is actually a pretty simple technology that's very similar to a duotronic computer. And duotronic computers are very old, at least in Federation history. Like the Federation Starfleet has moved way beyond duotronic computers. So this thing is very old, very simple technology. And what you've also noticed is that while it's not directly linked communication-wise to the rest of the GR units, it is sort of like a server on like the internet as like it's sending out information to these units. And you realize if you could actually very easily send a signal that would disable this thing and would probably take out all of the GR units on the planet. The complication I'm going to say is you don't know if by doing that, if you would also kill the life support in all of the facilities around the planet. You don't know how deeply entrenched the authority is on actually keeping the lights on, if you will.
Okay. I need to decide what to do with that information now.
Did
I didn't think
I
that
get
far ahead.
did I get an answer about GR16 or
Yes.
GR15?
When you ask about GR15 or GR16, the authority says GR15 is the 15th GR facility. GR16 is the 16th GR facility.
Okay, Mr. Authority. What does GR stand for then? What is a GR facility?
GR is the designation for this facility.
And what specifically is this facility?
This facility is an imprisonment for the Li Shu.
So are all GR facilities prison facilities?
Unknown.
Oh, you're no fun.
While Alan is distracting him, would I be able to whisper to the captain?
Yeah, of course.
Or will the authority hear?
You don't know if the authority
You
can hear
could
it.
just show me your tricorder.
Oh, I could show you my tricorder. I'm going to
And
show you
Alan-
my tricorder. That's a little bit better.
Alan the whole time is like, okay, so you don't know about 15 or 16, but what about GR2?
And as I
And
take a look at
he
your
does that the whole way through.
yeah, the whole way through. And as you're maybe distract them, I doubt it, but you never know.
No.
I'm gonna take a look at the tricorder. I'm gonna get that same information, and I'm gonna tap a message on the tricorder to see if you can't reprogram the warden here to give the Lishu pardon or that their imprisonment is over. Because if it's easy enough to
It's
turn
that
it
simple.
off, yeah, I mean, even a tricorder, like a 23rd century or 24th century tricorder, you could run an entire like Constitution class vessel on that tricorder, if I remember correctly. So it should be fairly trivial to just override its directives.
What you know to I think with your knowledge as an engineer is the difficulty here will be reprogramming it safely without knowing the programming language or the way that it's engineered. If it's a duotronic system and it's this old, it could be a very brittle system. Or if you start getting around, that's why it would be very easy to break it. Maybe pretty difficult to actually modify it.
Like, remember on the Enterprise, Captain Kirk would give the order to fire phasers, and then a guy in a room had to hit the switch to fire the phasers. Like, that's how simple, but also how like weirdly separate the computer systems on that ship were. So if this is operating on that kind of system, who knows how independent the systems are? It could go in a lot of different directions.
I don't know. I feel like it in the end of the day, I think that's safer though than just simply turning it off. Because if it turns off,
yeah.
then
100%.
Yeah, that might control the whole power system. Would I be able to know if it has control over the power system? Or is it because it's not a starship that I would not know?
Unfortunately, that's what I'm using the complication you rolled on earlier to hide from you, is that you can't be certain if you kill it, if it will also kill all the support systems as well.
I say we go for it.
I'm gonna go for it.
Unfortunately, I can't give you my determination because I didn't roll an effect for veteran. But I can assist you with advisor.
If you just rolled for veteran, you did just roll an effect.
Oh, is the chef? Oh, well, then I have. Yeah, so I think because I'm going to use my captain ability, and you have another point of determination to lag.
Unfortunately, the result didn't say 1+ effect, but the actual icon that you rolled is that. So you did get determination back.
Beautiful.
And then I get to roll another one to see if I keep it again. I doubt it, but yeah, this time it's gone for good.
All right, Tilek. I think based on what I've said, this is gonna be a really tough one for you, Tilek. It's gonna be a difficulty 5. I'm gonna make it a difficulty 6. This is going to be an engineering control, I believe. Let me see
That's
what your
okay, I'm
focuses
best at
are.
that one. I'm
And
going
is
to ask everybody to help me math this because I don't know.
is the captain giving an assist?
Yeah, I'm assisting with
Okay.
probably presence engineering on this one.
So Telek, you do have a focus. It's difficulty 6. And Nix, you can assist with the presence engineering. However, you know that in doing this, you're not going to be hiding any sort of... you're not going to basically be hiding from the authority that you're trying something. Like, you will basically be talking with Telek, hunched over Telek with a tricorder. It will be very visible you guys are doing something.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, then why don't we do engineering presence? And there you have it. But
And
yeah,
it
Nix,
has
you do
no
have a
effect
focus.
on any of these rolls. But Alan is now asking like the most mundane questions of the authority. Authority, do you have any arboretums here?
No.
How many cargo bays do you have? And it's just every time he's just trying to. Obviously, he is not distracting a computer system that has sensors and all this stuff, but he's trying that because what else can he do?
Mm-hmm.
And the computer continues to give you like 1-2 word answers immediately. Very simple.
Mhm.
Most of it does not have the information, does not have the programming.
Oh wow, authority! That's impressive. That is
But
very
is there an
impressive.
arboretum? That's the important part.
Mm-hmm. All right, so difficulty 6 roll. Yeah, we have if you spend determination for the 2 free successes, and then you spend the 2 momentum we have for the third die. I think that puts us very in good circumstances because you get to re-roll as well from my advisor.
And that's four rolls between you.
Mm-hmm. It's possible.
Yeah. What else can we do? I guess we could give threat if we had to. You could even buy another die. Would it be what 3 threat or 4?
3, so 5 total.
Dangerous, but you could do it, and then that would be the max, right? Or can you not do that because you're already rolling with her or with
You,
Black?
as far as I understand, you could do 5 dice, but just remember that technically you're only rolling 4 because determination was one of those 5 die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I have no idea then. That's why Alan is
Let's
just
not spend
engaging in small talk.
to do that.
Sorry?
Let's just go with the first plan. So I'm going to use my determination. I'm going to buy another die. And let's cross our fingers.
I'll cross my toes as well.
Telek is very good at this role, so I have confidence in
Full
you.
focus, yes?
Yeah, you do have a focus.
I mean, you say that, and yeah, well, you can re-roll that complication. Oh god, I get a complication. Oh god.
Oh, wow,
well,
guys.
we can re-roll one of those complications.
It's not
But
my
even if
die.
you would literally have to go from a complication to a crit success to succeed.
I guess Telek has the better odds to do that. So
Oh yeah. So no pressure. You need to roll a 5 or lower to
85% chance of success. Was it 25% chance for a crit?
Not enough. Not
Oh.
enough.
Not enough, and 1
so
complication.
5 out of 6.
All right, guys, I'm sorry. It's time to be the cruel GM. So what happens, Telek, as you start messing around in your tricorder, you believe that you have the subsystems access that you can reprogram the authority, and then everything just shuts off. And the only lights that you guys have are the lights from your tricorders and, you know, Alan's lights from his holographic projector. But
Yeah,
you
it's him like holding his cell phone as a flashlight.
You see immediately to like what's just happened is you have killed the authority. It is shut off. It is down. All of the GR units are also down. and the power to the station is out, which includes all life support, air scrubbing, all of it.
Okay, Alan immediately.
Oh, it's planned, Captain.
Yes, I can taste it in the air. We need to get back to the shuttle immediately.
Alan immediately runs to the door and tries to find like the panel that would access the door controls.
And the door won't open, but you do get a chirp on your communicator, Captain, and you hear, this is Dr. Jarvis to away team. The drones have deactivated. Do you require assistance?
Yes, we need you to beam us 3 up immediately if you can.
Understood, Captain.
Are-
Transporting
hold on.
shortly.
It's Jarvis, are none of the drones are they all offline?
That is correct. The majority have started to fall back into the atmosphere, meaning are deactivated into the ocean. Some are deactivated around the ship.
Captain, are these? Is this a life form? Can we allow this to happen?
Well, I don't think we have a choice at this point.
Aye, sir.
Yeah, I think as somber as it is, we just add 2 billion deaths on Nyx's hands as we beam up. Well, I guess, we can take on some refugees. Like, I don't know what the carrying capacity of a Luna is, but there's no way in hell we're getting 2 billion. I mean, we'd be lucky with the several hundred.
Well, maybe we can use the shuttles to transport like batteries or some sort of systems to implement some sort of emergency power, at least temporarily. Give us some more time.
Don't
This-
get me wrong,
this
I
is all
definitely
stuff
want to
Alan-
do that.
Alan
Like,
would Alan would not be the one mentioning this stuff, so I think
no, I mean, it's a fair point, and I definitely want to do that, but my understanding is because of the earlier complication, is that because the Authority is so tied into the power systems, and we killed the Authority, no matter what we do, we're not going to get the power reactors back online. At least that was my understanding of what was said.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
clarify. At this point, to get power to this facility, you're basically going to have to bring it in yourself. You're not going to be able to repair the systems. And that's based on the failed test to reprogram it, and then with a complication on top of it. That was about as bad as that situation could have gone.
did our friend indicate whether his family was at this facility?
No, he never indicated what we should be looking for. Let me ask this, GM Josh, and this might have been something we would have gotten from an earlier sensor scan. What sort of power system are they using? Is it a fusion reactor? Is it matter, antimatter?
I'm going to say it's probably a combination of fusion, also mixed with hydraulic power. So they're probably smart enough here to figure out a way to use just the motion of the water on the planet to actually generate a portion of power also. But they do have matter antimatter technology, but it's probably fusion mixed with pulling hydrogen from the water itself.
Then actually maybe we don't need to doom these people to death. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think even a single shuttle's matter antimatter reactor would be enough to power the facility then. Because matter antimatter is what, not gigajoules, something beyond gigajoules. Like, it's an obscene amount of energy that is put out by a matter antimatter reactor. So I guess I turn to Telek instead. I tell Jarvik to hold off on the transport, and I turn to Telek and I say, could we cannibalize the shuttle and have it power the reactor, power this facility?
Is everything off 100%, or is there like a small amount of backup power that is quickly draining?
There is nothing.
Would I know if we could use the power that we currently have and like jury rig it real fast?
I think like you would know, especially with your focus and power systems.
Improvisation?
Yeah, improvisation. You would know that the problem here isn't necessarily bringing power to these people. The problem is the scale. You know, we're not talking about one installation. We're talking about an installation that houses, or installations that house 2 billion people. So you could probably figure out a way to get the shuttle power to operate on a small scale, like a hallway, but the scale of what you're trying to accomplish is significant, because you also don't have a lot of information on the power systems for this facility either.
Could I
Yeah, and I
argue you to one installation rather than just a hallway?
With enough time, you could get all of them, but it depends the expediency that you're going for here. You know that you can just do the math quickly in your head as a Vulcan, that the number of people you've seen, the amount of air in a facility of this size means they probably have maybe 5 hours of air before they're out.
Captain,
Yeah.
it doesn't look good. Even if I was able to get something together, it wouldn't be able to cover all of this facility, let alone all of them on the planet.
and I think the ship only has the ability to accommodate maybe 1,000, right? In an emergency.
I tap my comm badge. Mr. Jarvik, proceed with beam out, and once we're aboard, you may beam 1,000 life signs at your discretion.
Understood, Captain. We will commence with the beam out immediately. I think we're actually going to transition after some time has passed to the captain's ready room. And Telek, you've walked into the captain's ready room and you have a report to give based on the number of people that you've managed to evacuate from the planet.
Well, Captain, I've gotten the information from all of the people that we managed to save from the planet.
How many?
And I'll just under 1,000. Not everybody was in good health.
I will say the number is approximately 753.
Beautiful. 753.
Well, as grateful as I'm sure those 750 are that they have their lives, I don't
It's
like the
nowhere-
fact that literally every single step we've taken in the Delta Quadrant has led to death.
It's nowhere near the amount that we had to leave behind.
In fact, I'm pretty sure that once Starfleet hears of this, they're going to want my commission. I mean, it's one thing to blow up a unimatrix of Borg like Janeway did, but to be responsible for the deaths of over 2 billion people, we're going to have to answer for that in one way or another.
I can't help but feel like I was personally responsible. So if you would like to reflect that in your report, I am open to that.
No, yeah, it was equally my fault as well. I'll take the full blunt of this one. I don't want you to have your career ruined by this. It's bad enough that I already had a few deaths on my hand when this started. Now I have a insurmountable number. If there's nothing else to like, I need a moment to think.
Understood. And I'll just leave the pad on the desk and leave.
And unless GM Josh had anything else planned, I think the final shot is Nyx going to the window and just sort of staring out at the planet below.
Yeah, in the end scene, we see the pullback from Nyx's ready room and the Hyperion still in orbit around the planet.